What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 38 of the Game Room Podcast. I'm your host, Rome, alongside my co host, Dev. And we got producer Jeff here with us tonight. How are you guys doing tonight?
Excellent.
Tired.
Thanks for asking.
Tired. Yeah,
Tired,
you've been
yeah.
working. You got
Yeah.
called in last night, huh?
Yeah, 1:30.
Ugh.
Ooh.
Well, hopefully you don't get bothered
Yeah, I
tonight.
know. Well, last night though, for a while.
Yeah, for sure. But we have a great show lined up. I know that, as of right now, it's 8:01 p.m. on the East Coast. Starfield is now live for everyone on Game Pass and digitally. Um, I've been playing Starfield. I'm about 16 hours into Starfield. I will be giving my thoughts on the game tonight here on the podcast. But we have to go through the news headlines first. A lot of good stuff. Some stuff about Starfield, Elder Scrolls, Nintendo. Is a direct happening next week, Devroro?
I hope so.
You don't want to go on, you want to go on record and say whether it's happening or not?
Yes. Next week there will be a direct. We'll be talking about it. Now.
Oh, look at that. Devroro's calling a shot. Amongst a bunch of other stories. But let's get right into it. Number 1 on the headline. The Elder Scrolls 6 has officially left pre-production and is now in the early stages of development. So, I mean, obviously, that still means...
What's the extent of production of the others? Because I imagine they did a lot of work already.
I think it comes down to a lot of art design, the script writing. I feel like that's probably what I would expect from pre-production.
Excited.
A few years away, though, still. I mean, Todd Howard said last week that he wants it to be the ultimate fantasy simulator.
Yeah.
So, a couple years from now, we'll be talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not something I expected for 26.
Yeah, I would expect 26. I think that makes good sense for the game.
We also said we saw like the next. They think the next generation of a game is going to be 2028.
Next consoles, yeah.
Next console, so I can actually see it like a launch title for Xbox.
Maybe.
That's 5 years from.
But Starfield is just coming out now, so that's going to be keeping people busy for a good while.
Is there an official Skyrim for Xbox Series X?
Yeah, I think there is.
Okay.
I think there is.
You gotta get.
For sure, you have to. Number 2 on the headlines. Sony has announced that starting tomorrow, actually, PlayStation Plus is raising its prices for its subscriptions. Currently, PlayStation Plus Essential costs $60, Extra is priced at $99 or $100, and the Premium costs $120. Devroro. Now you're probably asking, how much is this pricing? No, that's how much it currently.
Oh.
Ask how much this pricing.
Go up by $1. Go up by 35%.
Yes, it's going up by 35% on the more premium tiers. So starting tomorrow, the new prices are for Essential. It's going from $60 to $80. So yeah, you're right, $20. The
Boo.
is going up from $100 to $135, and Premium is going from $120 to $160 a year.
Boo! Can we get a collective boo?
Now, Deborah, you're probably also asking, well, Rome, what is getting added to PlayStation Plus?
Of course, it's not like Game Pass is kind of worth.
Right, for sure, right?
Yeah.
But you're probably asking what's getting added to PlayStation Plus to justify this pricing. There's nothing to the PlayStation Plus. Shouldn't ask that question live on the air. I know that Sony's probably gonna stop sending you the paycheck.
Send me a paycheck.
They're gonna have to if you're gonna be buying PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? So this is as you said, a 33 to 35% increase depending on the tier. I think this is absolutely unacceptable. I think that if you're looking at this as a service, and we've talked about it before, and I think Game Pass is 100 times better than PlayStation Plus. I have both, and I look at the offerings on the PlayStation Plus side, and even from their classic catalog, which is really the big selling point for the premium tier, like it's extremely underwhelming and very disappointing. They don't have games that come day and date, first party games. They don't do that. And not even first party. Like the thing about Game Pass is, even if you say Xbox doesn't have the best track record of its first party support, you could look at what they put out on Game Pass and you could say, oh wow, well maybe it's not all first party games, but they get a good amount of games like indie games and third party games that are day and date on the service. So I think Game Pass is a super justifiable price, even when they raise their prices by only $2, mind you, a month. Like when I saw that the 12-month premium subscription was 160, like my jaw hit the. I could not. There is no justifying that price, especially if you're not going to add anything to the service. My service expires, I think, middle of next year. I gotta check, but I will not be resubscribing to PlayStation Plus Premium because I've had it for over a year at this point, and it's been extremely underwhelming. I've only played, I think, one game that came out on the service, which was Stray. That was the only good game that came out day and date. I mean, I think there was one other one, but I just didn't check it out. But
for a normal like 3-month subscription on Game Pass or 1 year on Game Pass, how much is it? For Game Pass Ultimate?
I pay monthly, and so it went up to 18. But the thing about Game Pass is, and like I told you about it today, usually if you wait for a deal, you could stock up like 9 months at a time, and it's not a bad price.
But for regular, how much a year?
Well, I know it's 18 a month now with the new price.
Yeah, but that's probably more expensive paying it. I know the cheapest option is probably to get Ultimate for a year.
Yeah, well, Game Pass Ultimate is the highest tier of Game Pass.
But I mean, like getting a year subscription is probably the cheapest way to go. So I want to know how much that was.
Let me see. I'm about to tell you right now. I'm looking it up. But yeah, so it is 18 a month. I feel like they did away with the yearly subscription.
Really?
I think they might have.
What up, TJ?
What's up, Ty? Ty says, rumor has it they have a new emulation which will allow you to play PS2, 1, 3, 4 games. Is that the case? That's a huge win. Might justify the price. I would say it doesn't. $160 a year. Like, I don't know, man. I don't think it's very justifiable in my opinion.
Here we go. So for 12 months, it's $165.
165.
Yeah. Game Pass Ultimate 12 months.
But I think that you can justify Xbox Game Pass much more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I just want to know if
is that from a first party seller? Like that's a code on Amazon. People might like because I think they were doing away with those cards. I'm just saying. Well, if 3 months is 45, I mean you could do the math there. You know what I mean? I don't know. Regardless, I think that even if they were the same price, I think Xbox Game Pass is a much better service all around. The games that it's bringing to the catalog, number one, it does include first party. Number two, it does have a really awesome lineup of usually indie or smaller dev games that come out. And then next year, we could be looking at Call of Duty on games. You know what I'm saying? So it's like way more justifiable. And I just think you look at this PlayStation Plus price. And it
sucks because if PlayStation does get away with it, Xbox has no reason not to follow suit and raise prices. You know what I mean?
I would agree with that, but I mean,
I don't think PlayStation will get away with it.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah, I mean, we'll keep an eye on it, but I mean, unless they have to do something drastic to really make the service worth it, because it's not worth $100 a year.
They're trying to compete with Xbox. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's like, hey, we could charge more than Xbox. Ours is a premium. It's like you are not the premium in subscription services. You may be the premium when it comes to console sales and first party support right now, but the one thing Xbox absolutely has PlayStation trounced on is their service. Like that's just hands down fact. That's just the truth. Ty says Xbox might have the better deal. No, they do have the better deal. PlayStation Plus is terrible. I have both. I'm allowed to say it. Devroro was here when I bought PlayStation Plus. Like he was here, so it's just not a good service. And it just got worse because it added nothing and just became 35% more expensive.
Yeah, if they are planning to, I mean, you said it happened today, but if they are planning to add stuff to the services,
they would have announced it with the pricing.
Yeah, I would imagine you would. I feel like you would have to.
Yeah, they wouldn't be like, guys, we're raising the price by $40, and then they'll just let people marinate on that, then come out like a couple weeks later, like, by the way, we're adding a service.
Yeah.
Like, no, they wouldn't do that. That's not how PR works. That's not.
A little.
But I digress.
They must be making money off of it though, if they're this bold to upgrade.
I think that they're going to be bold because they're the market leader. And again, it's like, and it's why on the podcast I come off as very critical to PlayStation. It's because I look at what PlayStation does, and outside of their first party games, I just think that they're very consumer unfriendly. I don't agree with most of the moves that they make, and I'm just not a fan of it. And that's not even talking about acquisitions. It's just in general. Like, I don't feel like there's a connect there between the company and the customers, and I just don't see that. Like, I see that with Xbox. I see, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I forget which one it was, but they were talking about it, and they were just like, the thing about Xbox is, like, everyone knows who Phil Spencer is. Everyone knows Matt Booty, Sarah Bond, like, all these people from Xbox, and how they're always, like, with the community, and, like, when the community events come around, they're all over the place. Like, they listen, they have conversations with the fans at these events, and, like, actually listen to them and talk to them. It's like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, let's make note of that, and they'll make notes of stuff. And then they do these monthly Xbox updates where it's like, hey, these are features that are requested, so our team is working on making these features happen. And it just feels like there is a transparency and a level of communication there that PlayStation just doesn't do. And I mean, it comes when you're the market leader, I guess, but
Okay.
moving on. Number 3 in the headlines. This past week, AEW Fight Forever got its next DLC pack. The Bunny and Keith Lee made their debut in the game, along with 2 new mini games, MJF's Car Thrash and Sloth Sling. It's called the Limitless Bundle. You can check it out today if you're still playing it. I did not get around to playing Stadium Stampede, so
Are you still going to try it out?
the odds of me going back right now are just very slim. Like, I don't know. Mini games look kind of fun though. One of them is like MJF cuts a promo on the people playing the game, or like the wrestlers, and you have to beat up his car and destroy his car while he's not looking. So like the mini games seem pretty cool, but again, like me going back, like I would not.
I have a big problem with this bundle.
Okay.
This is called the Limitless Bunny Bundle, which is focusing on Keith Lee and the bunny. Sure. What on earth do these two have to do with each other ever in this show?
Well, I would say that the reasoning for it is because they had 2 DLC characters that are not related, and they had to throw them together because they had the other packs already situated.
I mean, I guess but
there is no connection.
It just makes no sense whatsoever as a bundle.
I get it. It's just the way that they release their characters. All their DLC packs are 2 characters. So, yeah. I mean...
But I mean, imagine like Fortnite doing a Dragon Ball Z thing and having a character from Looney Tunes mixed in. It's like, what?
Yeah, I get that.
I get it. No, I totally understand it. But, that would be the reasoning.
Does Limitless have anything to do with Keith Lee? Is that like a...
Yeah, Keith
That's
Lee
his thing.
That's
his so at least I have it in the name.
Yeah, the name is totally on par.
Yeah, Bunny and they just smashed them together.
Yeah. But that's out now, so if you have a season pass or you want to go pick it up, I think it's like $5 for. Check it out. Number 4, Bethesda reached out and thanked the fans of the studio leading up to the launch of Starfield. Put out the note, and it says, "To all of you who have supported us over the many years in games, a heartfelt thank you for all your passion and energy for Starfield. We would not have gotten to this moment without it. It seems like forever ago that we first started talking about making a grand space RPG. It never seemed feasible, and we had been lucky enough to create games we and all of you fortunately loved in the Elder Scrolls and Fallout series. Yet we couldn't shake the idea of exploring the galaxy in ways that only video games could do. And so we took the leap to create not just our first new IP in over 25 years, but our most ambitious. All of us here at Bethesda poured ourselves into this game. Through the ups and the downs of development, you kept us going. Your messages of encouragement or stories of how our games affect you kept reminding us how important it is. Thank you for making video games the best community and entertainment forum in the world. Thank you for allowing us to chase our dreams and create them. Creating Starfield has been one of the most challenging and thrilling experiences of our careers, a journey we'll never forget. And as we come to the end of this chapter, we pass it along to you, where the real journey can now begin, yours. We hope it's as rewarding as ours. We can't wait for you to play. All our best. Bethesda Game." Now, Deborah, I'm sure you're asking, you want to ask, how do I feel about Starfield? Well, you'll have to find out later on the topic of the show. You did ask when you walked in today before we went live. But anyways, yes. I will be talking about Starfield later. But this is cool. And like, I didn't take note of this either, but Todd Howard sent like letters thanking the reviewers, and also Todd Howard actually went on the Starfield subreddit and made like a big thank you post to them too. You guys are awesome. Like, you guys kept this hype going. We delayed the game by a year, and you guys just kept hanging in there with us, and we appreciate that. Yeah, it is awesome. Bethesda's super likable, and I think like they had a rough few years there with like the Fallout 76.
Could you imagine if this game came out last year?
I don't want to think about it. But you know what? While we're on that subject, like kudos to Xbox for letting them take this year, because Xbox really took a lot of heat for that. They were like, you guys can't have it. Like, you need more time? You need a whole year? All right, well, we need to do it, so let's do it. So
I almost feel like that's kind of more on Bethesda, because they wanted that date.
they did. Yeah, they said that date very meticulously.
Yeah, they wanted that date. So I don't.
It's a shortcoming on Bethesda's part, but it's Xbox as the owner of Bethesda. They made the right call by being like, you guys need more time. You're going to get this time. Xbox could have been like, we got to get it out. Man, that timeline is not fun. Where they put out probably a buggy Starfield and a not good Redfall.
Yeah.
Like, that's I don't want to even think about that. That would be terrible for them. Speaking of things that are terrible for the video games industry, number 5 on the list, the Embracer Group has shut down a studio that they had purchased, and that is Volition, who is the creators of the Saints Row franchise.
Oh, that's.
The Volition team has proudly created world-class entertainment for fans around the globe for 30 years. We've been driven by a passion for our community and always worked to deliver joy, surprise, and delight. This past June, Embracer Group announced a restructuring program to strengthen Embracer and maintain its position as a leader in the video game industry. As part of that program, they elevated strategic and operational goals and made the difficult decision to close Volition effective immediately. To help our team, we are working to provide job assistance and help the smooth transition for our Volition family members. We thank our customers and fans around the world for all the love and support over the years. You'll always be in our hearts. Volition Games, apart from Saints Row, I believe they also worked on the Red Faction. I'm gonna look it up real quick. But I think they worked on the Red Faction series for a little bit, amongst other things. Let's see. So yeah, Saints Row, Red Faction, Free Space, Summoner, the Punisher game they made back in 2005. So they've made
quite a few. Yeah.
They've made a few games. They definitely have made things of note.
I wonder if they're working on. I mean, this seems like this the studio. If you're going to work on a GTA competitor, I guess you would kind of start with Saints Row, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
I mean, it has to be something that's on their mind.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go over to the chat real quick about the Starfield thing. And Ty said that this is a great PR. Even Todd showing up on Reddit. Xbox just has a way of communicating with fans, people. And like that's what we were just talking about a few minutes ago. It's just like, it just feels authentic. And that's the thing with Xbox.
Of the 3 companies, they're definitely the best.
Yeah, like that's the one thing. I also think, so there's 2 things that I would say, technically 3 because the Series X is more powerful than the PS5. The 3 things that I say that Xbox does better than Nintendo or PlayStation is, number 1, power, most powerful console, and they support PC more immediately. So if you're looking for power, I mean, PC is technically more powerful. The communication, the transparency, just what we're talking about. And then I would say value. I think you look at Game Pass, and obviously Nintendo and PlayStation have their services, and we talk about them. I think Nintendo Switch Online is the cheapest. And it's also, it's value-wise, technically, Xbox Game Pass is more expensive than. But I think what Game Pass offers as compared to what Nintendo offers in theirs, I think Game Pass has more value. Nintendo has the backlog, though, the back catalog. But they refuse to up. But so those are the things I think Xbox does better than the other.
The one thing they do next to still need games.
Xbox, yeah, for sure. Well, I will be talking about Starfield. I'll let you know how I feel about Starfield. Day Trading Doge says that he can't wait to see what Starfield looks like a year from now. I also cannot. I'm very intrigued to see how the post-launch looks. Ty asks us, question about Volition. Would they have been shut down regardless if Embracer owns them?
That's a good question. Cause
I don't think so. I think they would have. I think Embracer shut them down. So
well, Saints Row didn't well at all. They
didn't.
Rebooted the series and fell flat.
It didn't, but here's the thing. So we talked about Embracer a couple weeks ago. Excuse me. And the $2 billion deal with the Saudis that fell out.
Yeah.
I think Embracer, they tried to be this super smart company and they bought up all these IPs and these studios and they're buying things trying to become a powerhouse. And I feel like they were probably expecting this money to come, and when it didn't, like they were kind of left like, I don't know. I just feel like their plan fell through and now they're kind of doing damage control. Because here's the thing. So I didn't put it in the script, but a follow-up, even though the studio is closing, the IP rights are still maintained by Embracer.
Sure.
So like Embracer's even said like this is not the end of Saints Row.
Okay.
But it is the end of this. So I don't know. I think for me this is just them kind of cutting costs. It really sucks to see. The studio has been around since June 1993. It's a 30-year-old studio. But it sucks.
Younger than me.
Yeah, was it 3 months younger than me? But like that sucks, man. Super unfortunate. Let's move on to the next on the headlines. Number 6. Are video game voice actors going to be going on strike next? The entertainment industry could see another strike, and this time it could impact the video game industry, specifically its voice actors. SAG-AFTRA announced on its official website on Friday that it has voted unanimously to send a strike authorization vote to members. The authorization comes as the union is set to begin negotiations with a number of major companies, including EA, Activision, Epic Games, Insomniac, WB, Take-Two, and more. It has been nearly a year since SAG-AFTRA's video game contract, the Interactive Media Agreement, was extended beyond the original expiration date as we negotiated with the companies for critical terms SAG-AFTRA members need, the union said. Unfortunately, throughout the negotiations, the companies have failed to address those needs. For this reason, the negotiating committee and national board unanimously agreed that the union should have a member-approved strike authorization in hand when bargaining resumes on September 26th. Here we go again. Now, our interactive agreement is a stalemate too, SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher said in an official press release. Once again, we are facing employer greed and disrespect. Once again, artificial intelligence is putting our members in jeopardy of reducing their opportunity to work. And once again, SAG-AFTRA is standing up to tyranny on behalf of members. There was an update. In response to the move by SAG-AFTRA, Audrey Cooling, a spokesperson for the Video Game Producers Party, to the Interactive Media Agreement, gave Insider Gaming the following statement. We all want a fair contract that reflects important contributions of SAG-AFTRA represented performers in an industry that delivers world-class entertainment to billions of players around the world. We are negotiating in good faith and hope to reach a mutually beneficial deal as soon as possible. Deborah, would you say you're worried about video game voice act? Well, number one, pay people. Pay them the money that they owe, that they work for, that they deserve.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's not what I feel like I had to stop because I feel like my question might have been taken that way, but that's not.
No, I get that. Yeah,
I'm saying, are you worried that there is going to be a strike?
It's not so much. I think it's going to happen. It's not so much that I'm worried about it.
Well, I mean, because if they do the strike, obviously that's going to affect video games coming out for the worse.
Yeah, I think studios that are willing to pay the people, I think they're fine. I think people will still work if they're getting paid for it.
For sure.
What might happen is, if I think of a greedy studio, such as or a greedy EA, right?
Sure.
EA is probably going to benefit itself from using AI voice. One person can do 30 voices, and you know what I mean? Pay that person. I think it's one of those things that AI is going to take over eventually. It does suck to say, but it also feels like it's a losing battle to fight.
I disagree with that last. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, I think it's the same argument for like in sports, right? Like you have the baseball with the robo-umps and stuff like that. Like obviously I want the robo-umps to happen, but there's a functionality reason for that. But I think there's always going to be a desire for human, I don't want to say human error, but like humanic qualities.
Well, that's
if that
the
makes
thing.
sense.
It's still going to be a human voice person. It's just a couple sliders and it's a female. A couple sliders it's a male. A couple sliders and it's a, you know what I mean? The voice is still there. The voice is still a human person, but through AI, you alter the voice.
See,
I need voice actors.
See, ties for the strike. And for the AI.
It's like it's one of those things where again it is a losing battle to fight. This is cheaper and easier to do, and companies are gonna realize that, or they already have realized that, and that's why people are striking. It sucks to say, but like we're definitely in a transition period when it comes to entertainment because of AI.
Is that going to bother you?
It sucks to see people lose jobs. So yeah, I think but it's also one of those things where there's not much I can do about it. You know what I mean? Like I can try to support, you know, video games that are voiced by real people or not. You know what I mean? It's very tricky to get past that, especially when it may not be a main character. It might just be a lot of background characters. You know what I mean? It's tough.
See, my stance on it is that I want to see, I don't want to see AI take over acting and voice acting. Like, yes, like you said,
It's gonna happen. Yeah.
I mean, I can't, obviously, like you said, you can't stop the, I can't stop it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're asking me
all
what
these
I
people are
want to see it
protesting
happen,
and they can't stop. So it's like,
I mean, if enough people are upset about it, maybe they choose not to support it. You never know.
hard when it's like when the car was invented, people are going to get cars, and you're going to put people who take care of horses out of business. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's sorry, but this is kind of where we're moving. It's kind of a moving forward with technology.
Maybe, I don't know. But I guess we'll have to keep a look out on that. September 26th is when the negotiations are going to start. So
Exactly what TJ said. They don't gamers. The majority of people don't care how the sausage is made. They just want the product.
I get that, and I do.
People are going to complain about it. Yeah, they didn't hire me for this. Instead, they got 1 or 2 people to do 100 voices.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a shame though.
It is a shame.
Even if you can't fight it, I'm still gonna mourn it and not be happy.
The same thing with modeling. Modeling. If you're a model who models clothing for companies, you're kind of out of a job now. You can just press enter on a keyboard and have any model they want.
All I can say is when the AI starts, there's no way it's going to write better stories than humans will, so it'll die off of it.
I agree with that. 100%.
It'll die off.
Writing is definitely different. You need writers.
You'll have 2 or 3 big flops from someone like Amazon Prime or Netflix, and everybody's going to be like, nope, we're not doing that.
It's rough.
It is.
No way we benefit from. We're not models.
I don't look at it as a benefit.
No.
Well, no, but it is.
Again, because I think that you might not make it better. I mean, you might not make it worse, but it's not going to be better. There's no way that you're going to be able to.
You can make it better though. At the end of the day, it's just a tool.
You're like I don't believe that the performance of an AI is going to be made better than a convincing actor. Maybe the same. Maybe like you could replicate it and make it the same. But there's no way it does not improve. The only person it improves is the corporations and the publishers not spending money. That's the only person that benefits from doing that. But so I mean, I'm definitely not going to sit here and be like, well, it's for the best. Like, no, it's not for the best.
But it's not for the worst either. It's just a tool. You know what I mean? If you have a screwdriver, if you have a drill, you can build a house faster than with a hand with a screwdriver, and that's all AI is.
That's different though. It makes it better though. You're not comparing the same thing. You're not comparing.
But I am though. It's just a tool. AI is just a tool. It does what something else does, just better and faster.
But it doesn't do it. Why is it better? How is it better?
Because it can do the same job that 30 people can do, that one person can do. And it's if I was a solo developer,
you're still not. So hold on. Pause.
If I was a solo developer and I was making a game, AI would be my dream. AI would be I can have 30 different sounding characters with just my voice.
So hold on. So pause, because you didn't actually answer the question. What I said was, apart from making it more monetarily smart for these studios, for these publishers to do it, how is it improving the actual game? When I sit down and I play a game with AI voice acting, how is that better than actually using real voice actors?
Let's pretend that we're game developers. The
two
of us.
Okay.
We use AI.
I don't want to be a game developer. I want to be a gamer in this situation.
Okay.
My question is, it pertains to a gamer. Okay.
I'm a game developer. Okay. I'm building a game. I need characters. I need women characters. I need children characters. I need old men characters. I use my voice AI to create all of that. Now I'm not spending money and resources to pay actors. Hey, Jerome, do you want to be in my video game? Can you read these lines? And now you don't read them the way I need to. I save time. I save money. I save resources. I can put all that stuff back into my game. That's how it helps. That's why AI is a better tool. You just said build the house faster with the drill, not with the screwdriver. Now I can spend that time doing other things. I can get the house done faster. I can get it better. You know what I mean?
So Ty in the chat just said AI's for the best. You know, they have so many possibilities now, right? I have to say I completely disagree, because AI, all it does is take away jobs from humans And I don't care what it is taking
not
jobs away from humans. I disagree with that.
but that doesn't make sense because, like I said before, when the car came into existence, you didn't have to build carriages, you didn't have to take care of horses. Horses were everywhere. Now
Okay.
there's less horses, so like farmers have to. It's one of those. It's a transitional thing. You can't say this better technology.
No, this is
So
on a
here's-
different level, though. You're taking massive amounts of jobs
Absolutely, it's
away.
definitely on a different level. The same way the internet was on a different level when it came out, and people that put so many more people out of jobs. It's the same
No,
thing.
the internet created a million jobs.
Oh yeah, it did, but it also took away. You don't think AI is going to create jobs?
First of all, the internet ones are not a good conversation.
All right, fine.
Because again, it took away jobs, but it did also add a lot of jobs. But my thing is that you are.
That's what I'm saying. So did the car. The car took away jobs, but now people transition mechanics.
But here's the thing, and I think Jeff is going to agree with this as well. The thing is that you're saying, like, you're using these analogies that going from a horse to a car substantially increases like the productivity and everything like that. It's you obviously using a car will get you further, faster. For I don't know, less money in today's world, but further, faster with less effort.
Yeah,
a drill will do work faster with less effort.
Yes.
Than a screwdriver.
Yes.
That is like your argument in terms of
voices.
using AI is not the same.
Yeah, you're
not the same
but,
because
is it different?
Because here's the thing, we're not talking about now a developer can work on something else. We're talking about strictly the voice acting in the game. Is it improved from this? What is the pro con of the product? No, because it won't improve it. The AI is
not improving.
The AI is going to
if I'm a single game developer and I'm doing all these voices, how would AI not help me? If I want to make 30 voices, how would that not help me?
Again, I'm choosing not to look at it from the publisher's benefit.
But
I don't care.
The
video game industry is such a successful industry, and yes, you make a good point about the little developers, but you know who's really going to use this? EA, Ubisoft. These are the publishers that are going to use it. They don't need to fucking do that. They make billions of dollars. Video games are the biggest, most highest grossing media form of entertainment. Period.
Other companies.
Period. We don't need AI
for evil. Think about Bethesda. When Bethesda eventually starts using AI voices, if they ever do that, all that money and effort and time that they were spending on hiring voice actors is going to go back into the game somewhere else. Maybe we can travel the whole planet eventually.
Well, let me give one.
It doesn't get thrown away into the trash. It gets recycled into something to another part of the game.
Well, again, I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with.
You had the same argument
points you're making,
when we were talking about streaming services. Like again, it's the way to go. It's technology. It's going to get better, and when it does, it's just going to take over. There's not going to be boxes. You're going to be streaming. You're going to be streaming games.
The last little bit that I would put in is you use that horse reference being replaced by a car. So in that case, the only one losing a job is the horse. You know what I mean? The carriage makers, they can go start making cars if they want to. These voice actors, they have to go find an entire new career. They are screwed.
Absolutely. But so does the person who farms horses. You know what I mean? It affects, just because cars came into it doesn't mean like only the horses lost the job. No, the people who take care of those horses, the people who buy and sell and breed those horses, they lost a lot of people aren't buying horses anymore.
So over to the chat, we have John Cream here. John, it's been a minute since John's been in our streams. He's an oldie. What's up, John? He says, I like to think that this was the same discussion like 20,000 years ago before AI destroyed the world and everything went back to the beginning.
100% agree, John.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm just saying it's one of those things where you can't just hit the brakes on it because a lot of people are going to lose jobs. That's kind of what happens when a new technology is introduced. Every new technology that's introduced, you're taking someone's job.
No, yeah,
again,
I completely agree with you on the business aspect. Like it is 100%.
Yes,
profitable and all that for them. Yeah,
people, and that's why it should be done. I'm sorry, but
I'm just looking at it like as human beings, we should be against it. That's all.
No, okay, I agree with that.
That's what I'm agreeing with.
I'm just saying it sucks, but you can't just hit the brakes on it at this point.
I don't think it offers a differentiation like in terms of quality in just voice acting. If I look at voice, like yes, you could argue that for anything though. Dev, like okay, well the developer instead of doing
that's how technology
they focused
works.
on something else.
But that's how technology works. It makes one thing easier, and you can focus your time.
The problem is that I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
But you still see it as
I see it as a negative. I do.
Because it's taking away jobs from people?
Primarily. That's not my biggest issue.
It's one of those things where it's like, I'm sorry, but it's too bad.
Here's the thing. My biggest issue, because that's the thing, believe it or not, I'm all for making things more efficient and effective. I am not against moving forward.
That's what this is.
But my thing is that if you ask me, is this something that we need to be doing? like, is the cost worth what you're doing there?
Yes,
In a
you
sense
save
that, like,
a lot of money. That's the problem. That's why it's so easy to say, "Hey, let's fire these people." For companies to do that, because it's so easy. It's so
so again, I
easy.
need you to understand this. I don't give a fuck about how much money the company is
But I'm
saving.
just saying,
I don't care.
you can't just say hit the
Games are
brakes
getting
because
more expensive and have less content. Game publishers do not give a shit about value in their games.
well, we have to
That's
talk
just the
about pockets.
facts.
Unfortunately, people
And
are still
however,
buying
if
games
you
at
say,
crazy amounts.
here's the thing, like for me, I'm always going to look at it as a customer, as a gamer, as a fan of the industry and a fan of the genre.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, okay, well, here is the trade-off where we could do this as an industry. Do you want to do it? I look at it and say, well, we're talking about voice acting. Is the voice acting substantially better than with a human person? The answer to that is no.
No,
It's
you don't
not.
know.
It's probably about the same.
Yeah, exactly.
The
It's about
AI,
the same.
the AI is taking that work. Although I do think in some performances and some lights, nothing beats just doing a straight up a human doing it.
But
But
we
I'm
don't know the
saying,
extent of
is it
AI.
if it's going to stay the same and the only cost is that the publisher that's already making billions is going to save more money and people lose jobs, and no, I'm not going to say like, yeah, let's do it. Like, no, it's
No,
not.
I'm not saying to march down the street on the opposite side and say don't like riot or whatever, but it's just one of those things where it's a losing battle, it's a losing fight. It's one of those things where they have to pivot, and it sucks to say that. You think when procedurally generated came out into like the gaming world, artists and stuff didn't lose their jobs? Of course they did.
No, they didn't, because they still
Yes they did. Of
they
course
designed
they did.
these things that were randomly generated. They just still were doing
No,
design.
yeah, but there's a lot less.
That's not the same. It's not the
It
same.
is the same because
It's
you
not
don't
the
have to hand draw everything. Now you can hand draw a few things and just
It's not the same.
fill it out. But it is
It's
the
still
same.
it's still a
It's
person.
AI.
It's still a person going in and drawing things and
And it's
making
still
art.
a person making the voices. It's just one instead of 30. I'm sorry, but it makes
We
the
gotta
job
move on.
easier.
We gotta move on. It's not the same, but it's okay. We gotta move on.
At least TJ can see.
I'm not saying we have to move on because like I don't want you to talk anymore. I'm saying we gotta move on because we're spending a lot of time
We
on that.
are, but
It's not correct.
exactly though. You guys are taking it from an emotional point of view, and I get it. It sucks for these people who are losing jobs, but
Fuck the
it's one
robots.
of those things that people are going to use it dirty, like EA, and some people might use it right. It's like indie developers.
Again, like I hear you, and I don't say you're wrong. And again, like you're saying, like, oh, he's being emotional. He's looking at it like, no, I totally see your side of it. And I totally get it. But I'm just saying that I don't think the trade-off. It doesn't.
But it does. That's the issue.
doesn't.
That's why it's so easy to do. If it made it worse, it wouldn't be like this big of a thing.
So like
same thing in the movie industry.
So 20 years from now, right? Every game is RNG, completely made by AI. There's not really any unique artistry to it.
No.
That's better for video games?
I just said, of course not.
Okay, well,
but
that's where we're heading. That's the future that you're saying. Yeah, let's do it, guys.
No, I'm not saying
like
that.
That's what
it is a tool. It's a tool.
Yeah, in 20 years from now, if we keep using these tools, then like I said, you're saying, oh well, there's less work for the people now because it's all RNG. Oh wow, well now we use AI. It's just like we're not even going to have people making the games. It's just going to be bots just producing content.
Okay, think about movies.
I don't want content to be produced regardless of the quality.
A lot of these characters in movies. Think about just a Marvel movie. That's a lot of CGI. That's all computer generated. That's not somebody building a suit. That's not a team. There's nothing practical in that. It's a guy in a green suit pretending to be the thing.
Thank you. I know how movies work.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's the same thing.
It's not.
Because now they're using the technology to like, oh, you don't have to be a real actor. You don't even have to come to set. Just do the thing here on the screen, and we'll do everything else post-production. Instead of having someone build the set, build the suit, lights, strings. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing. The technology makes the job easier, and people are going to lose their jobs from that. Point at any technology that boomed, and it's the same story over and over and over again. I'm not saying it's great. It's different. But different isn't necessarily bad.
John Cream just said it really well. Difference between consumers and customers, I guess. All right, moving on.
Yeah. He's right, though.
He is. They're really the same thing.
It is
again, I'm not this argument is not disagreeing with you.
But you're saying you're saying that they shouldn't go forward with it. And it's just like they're going to because of the benefit. You don't see the benefit. And I don't know how you don't see it. That's where we disagree.
The benefits are is that the publisher is going to pocket that money and make more profit for them.
Yeah.
Like that's
we see it. We disagree with it morally. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah,
I think
not everyone's gonna. You think that in the future it's just gonna be all
I think you think that
Again,
like
these are
the
all
game EA is
tools.
going to be like, guys, great news. We're not going to
Oh
pay
no,
voice actors. That means we can put more effort onto another feature of the game. No, EA is
no,
not going to do that.
EA is not
EA
going to
is
do
going to be
that.
like, oh, more
They're going to put
money in
all
the
that in their
pocket.
pocket. Yes, EA, but not everyone is EA. These are just tools. Again, these are just tools.
So you're saying that we like, you know, you got to move on.
Yeah.
Oh, or yeah. So EA, all the big players are going to do it. You know. Speaking of terrible things, well, not the game terrible, but it's a lot of storage that's taken up. Spider-Man 2 is going to require 98 gigs of storage on the PS5 on its SSD. Uh, it's a pretty sizable upgrade in terms of how much storage is going to be. The PS5 version of Spidey 1 was 71 gigs. Miles Morales on the PS5 was 54 gigs. So, big, lot more amount of content than Spider-Man 2.
Well, at least PlayStation users don't have Starfield to take up another 100 gigs on their hard drive.
No, they have Baldur's Gate instead.
Yeah.
Good comments, John. Good comments. All right. Next up, Pete Hines. He thinks that we're gonna be playing Starfield, Redfall, 10 years from now.
I don't know who he thinks is going to be playing it.
In an interview with GamesIndustry.biz, Hines was talking about the chaotic nature introduced by having lots of bugs present in the game. In this interview, Hines touched upon Redfall, stressing that despite not getting the start they wanted, remains sure that the people will still be playing Redfall on Game Pass 10 years from now. He says, sure this is part of the quote. It was a terrible game, that's for sure. It almost had no redeeming qualities, and that's why it's almost been completely forgotten about just 4 months after release. However, Pete Hines doesn't see it like that. He says, we're going to get it to be a good game because we know as a first-party studio, Game Pass lives forever. There will be people 10 years from now who are going to join Game Pass, and Redfall will be there. Hines stressed that Redfall is still being worked on, and there are things in the pipeline that'll make it better. For instance, 60 frames per second upgrade that players thought would be delivered shortly after release. That's just one of the many things that could be done or added to make the game a little more tolerable. In his own words, it's still a fun game. He used Fallout 76 as a working example, stressing that the launch wasn't flawless, but now it's insanely popular multi-platform game. So while I do now, Deborah, I'm curious to get your take on this. Do you think that this approach from a developer standpoint makes sense in a sense that like, yeah, Redfall is not good now, but it'll be better once we work on it for a little bit and upgrade it and update it and stuff like that. Like, what are your thoughts on this? Because you're much more of a live service guy than I am. So like, basically, what he's saying is just like Fallout 76. Like, we can make this as a service, make it to get to the point where it is better and it's very good. And who knows, 10 years from now, it will still be on Game Pass and people will play it and maybe they'll like it.
Because, and the same thing I said with live service games, it needs to have a good base before anything else. It still needs to be a good game before. Starfield is a game that, while it's flawed, it's a good game, and they're going to work on this game for the next 10 years. And yes, people will still be playing Starfield, in my opinion, in the next 10 years.
I agree with that.
Redfield doesn't have that foundation. Redfall.
That's okay. I did too. You said Redfield.
Oh,
we did the same thing, but at different times.
Yeah, Redfall doesn't have that base game at the bottom that's like people want to keep going back to right now. So
it's not a live service either.
Yeah, I mean it's not a live service, but like I get what you're saying though.
It kind of is.
But that's kind of the way games are right. And again, I don't like this, but that's kind of the way games are right now. Anyway, they've released a game at 75%, and you get the rest of the updates later on. You're kind of buying every game at early access. That's why like Baldur's Gate 3 was such a big surprise because it was basically a finished game when they released it. So it's unfortunate, but that's kind of the way everything is right now with gaming.
Right.
And it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I for one am like, and again,
I mean, actually, so the question you asked me, do I think it's a good thing? I think every game should be coming out and they should be like, hey, we're going to support this game for a while, whether it's good or bad. I just don't want that to be. If you put out a bad game, I don't want it to be. I don't want that to be the trend. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with that. I think that like you should definitely make sure the game is as good as it can be when it launches. I think I've said this in the past about like Fallout 76 and stuff. Like, I totally believe that Fallout 76 is a great game. Like, I see the updates. I see all the stuff they put in the years.
And
they added the NPCs. They added more quests, expansions, all this, that, the third. No Man's Sky is another great example.
Cyberpunk. the more recent game. It's a single
Right.
player.
That's a good game now.
Yeah, so it's just like I do like to give that games a chance. Again, I think Starfield next year will be way better than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's just that trend that we're on. So,
Yeah, I agree with you though. I would like to see games kind of come out in a more complete state.
yeah.
But I mean, on
Look
the
at
flip
Nintendo
side,
games. Nintendo usually drops a full game, and if you're lucky to get DLC in the first place, it's just an add-on. You don't even care because you played the full game.
right? Yeah, for sure. Speaking, a very Bethesda heavy episode, but obviously with Starfield,
Yeah,
it's just the
makes
way
sense.
it is. Next up on the headlines, Starfield did very well in its early access dev.
Yeah.
So Play Tracker is estimating that over 1 million players played it on Steam in early access, and over 1 million players on Xbox played it early access. Now, for context, the early access, if you don't have Game Pass, you had to spend $100 to get early access. And if you do have Game Pass, you were spending $35 to get early access.
Mhm.
So, regardless, these numbers.
You did the $35 one, right?
I did the $35 because I have Game Pass. Came with a steel book. So, and here's the thing: if anyone at Xbox is listening, for me, this is the. If you want me to go digital, this is how you do it. Where give me a steel book, give me something that I can put in the game room, and this is a great deal for me because it was like I have Game Pass, so I basically paid for the game already. But then I get this steel book, so I get to put it in my room. It came with a little patch. It came with art book, soundtrack. The first story expansion is included, and it came with a 5-day early access for only $35. For me, that's totally worth it, and I hope that Xbox sees this trend and continues to do this with their first party games on Game because I loved it. But again, keeping in mind, a lot of people paid extra, so that means over 2 million players paid extra to get the game and play it.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
I think that that's insane numbers. And obviously, the game went live 45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
On Game Pass and digital.
To be fair, this game rode off a hype. It made so much money before release because of like the deals it made and like people were, pre-sales and all that stuff. This game rode off a hype, and they really capitalized on it.
Now, I don't think I have it in the script, but I also saw that on Steam it reached like 600,000 concurrent viewers, which for early access again also.
Exactly. Tomorrow we're going to be about how much higher it is because the game officially came out tonight.
Yeah, next week we'll probably be talking about like how many people are playing it.
Yeah, I think that's cool though.
Yeah, super awesome. So love to see it. Again, stick around. I will be giving my thoughts on Starfield. I've played it. Devroro has not yet.
Oh.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
That means that that amount of players were playing it at the same time on Steam.
Like that's at the very moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, right now. Okay.
Let me make sure, but yeah.
John Cream says I paid $30. Was able to get the game early access on PC and Xbox. Yeah, man, same. I bought the $30, and they did have it digitally as well. So it was all that stuff that I said minus the steelbook, also available digitally.
Okay, that's cool.
So yeah,
it's cool. It's an option.
Again, a lot of a la carte, a lot of different levels, and again, like that's what I like about Xbox. There's so many. You look at Starfield and the release of Starfield. It's like, hey, if you just want to get on Game Pass, it's gonna be there when it launches. If you like physical, we have the physical. If you have Game Pass but you like physical too, well, we have the steelbook offering that oh god, terrible GameStop story, by the way. I'll tell that later. I didn't include it in the script, but I'll talk about it. GameStop's terrible.
Tell me.
But a little bit of everything for them, and I really appreciate it. Let's move on. Number 10 in the headlines. PlayStation Portal's release date has been revealed for November 15th. Pre-orders are now live in the countries that the system is coming out for: the United States, UK, France, Germany, Austria, Belgium, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Italy, Spain, or I'm sorry, as IGN says, Span, Portugal. Again, I don't really care about this product. It's not for me. You know what's funny? Because we were talking about it last week, and you know what I think of when I think of this? It made me think of the Wii U. And just the gamepad and the situation there. Obviously, it's not the same because you could take the Portal out of the house and stuff. But for some reason, my brain just started I was working the other day listening to Kind of Funny did a preview event of the PlayStation Portal, and I was listening to it, and I was just he's like, yeah, this is for if my wife wants to watch something on the TV and I want to keep playing my PlayStation game, I could just play it on the Portal, and I'm just oh, it's a Wii U, but you can take it on the go.
Yeah, I mean
that's what it is.
It's kind of smart.
And I just thought it was funny because now I can't get the association out of my head with the Wii U and the PS Portal.
again, it's a cool piece of technology. Don't know really for it.
Yeah, I don't. Man,
At $200 maybe.
I think it's DOA. I just and
Yeah.
like I'm not even hating on remote play because I do like obviously like I see like an appeal of like say like a Switch or something like that. But like and like cloud gaming, like I get it too. Again, I've used Xbox Cloud on my phone and stuff.
Yeah.
I get it. There is no way I'm paying $200 for a device for remote. Not in a million years.
I get it.
Number 11 on the news headlines, real quick. Minecraft is officially been rated with the ESRB for the Xbox Series X and S. Not much more to it than that, but we would expect some beautiful ray tracing on our Minecraft in the near future. I think I might actually do like a Minecraft achievement run when the Series X version. We should do that together. That'd be fun. Yeah, we should definitely do that.
Maybe you should record it.
Well, not if the ray tracing. Oh my god! So Jeff is mad because I didn't want to play Starfield with the capture card that we have. And
No,
my
I
reasoning for that was
understood.
he sent me a video how to like set it up, and like when I looked up the video, the very top comment was like, "It's a cool little device, but the Xbox Series X locks at 1080p if you use it." And I was like,
God forbid you had to play at 1080. Oh.
I want to play it in 4K. I bought the Xbox Series X for 4K.
Yeah, I kind of don't blame you on that.
I was like, and like I feel bad, like obviously because Zelda, like this is the second game where Jeff's like, oh, you should really record it with this capture card I got you, and I was like, look, man, Zelda is Zelda. I need to just experience Zelda. Yeah. And then Starfield was like, I would totally have done it if Starfield wasn't locked at 1080. I was like, I can't do that. I'm sorry. This is the first big Xbox first party game like in forever, and like it's a Series X. Like this feels like the game.
Yeah,
that you have a Series X for.
Yeah,
like there was no shot I was
especially if it was like
it.
If the game had 60 frames per second, I'd be like, yeah, just 1080. Like it's alright, you're playing at 60, but it doesn't even have that, so it's like.
But see, I'm more of a resolution guy than a frame rate guy. See, if the game said we'll cap it at 30 frames, but you could do 4K, I would have done. Because I'm more of a resolution guy. I want the game to look really good. I don't like as long as the frames don't dip too low, I'm fine. 30 is totally fine. But I want that 4K. I want the lighting. I want the ray tracing. I want the beautiful game. Maybe the next game, Jeff. Super Mario RPG. When it comes out in November, I'll record it all. I promise. Anyways, moving on. Another quick little thing about Starfield is ahead of its launch, it is the premium upgrade editions that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Number 1 and number 2 on the Xbox storefront. So that means again, people are just spending extra money, and it's also a very interesting thing because it also kind of shows you the Game Pass argument where yes, people have Game Pass, but if they want to buy these games, they will buy these.
Oh yeah.
And I just think, I mean, obviously I knew that and you knew that and we talked about it before.
But it was one of those things where I saw that and it didn't. It still doesn't make sense. The numbers are there and it's it makes sense. I see it. It just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, but people are still buying games even though they're in Game Pass. I guess you also get a discount, so maybe that helps out too somehow.
Well, that's only if the game is already on the service. Yeah. So you're not getting that discount.
That's what I meant.
Well, so if you look at this right here, this is the top selling.
Yeah.
And the number 1 is the $30 one because that means that people with Game Pass are paying an extra $31 to get the 5-day early access and the that little premium content that it came. Obviously, the second place is the $99 edition, which is the game included, which means that those are also people that don't have Game Pass.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, that's super impressive. Again, Starfield is really showing off very well in terms of its numbers that it did for launch. So very excited to see how it does. Number 13 on the headlines. We have the September Xbox update info. You will be able to stream games from your Xbox directly to Discord. So you're able to, the variable refresh rate update is coming to Xbox Series X and S consoles. It allows your TV or monitor to dynamically adjust its refresh rate based on the frame rate of the content you're viewing to give you a smooth, artifact-free experience while you game. However, if you're using Xbox Series XS for entertainment purposes, you may not always want VRR enabled. You can now see new places to view and redeem your Microsoft rewards, which are also linked by like playing games and stuff like that. You can actually save up enough points to get like a free month of Game Pass Ultimate. So making that more streamlined is nice. Something that I thought was really funny is so now you can ask to join a friend's gaming session. So like I could see that being like really cool, but also being like really awkward for people that don't want them to join. Like You go on the menu instead of just joining the game outright. You can
Just
send like a
ask.
little. You can like, hey, is it cool if I jump in? Like, what if they say no? Is there like a button to say no?
Wasn't there always kind of a thing like someone's attempting to join the party? Did you ever get a notification for that?
Well,
So-
that's a party chat, not a straight up a
Okay.
game.
You could lock it to where nobody could join, but this, I believe that's what this is going to be for, is if you lock it, it'll be like, hey, can I please?
Yeah, that's more likely also what it's a
I
part
mean, I
of.
think that's cool though. I think that's
Yep. And then the voice reporting came out in the September update, which we've covered in the past. New
worried
wish.
about that a little.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. New wish list notifications are hitting the Microsoft Store. Getting updates on your wish list is getting easier. Want to be the first to get the game when it's available. Now you get notification when your wish list games go from pre-order to release, and when they hit Game Pass. I think that's cool. It's like, oh, this is your wish list, just so you know it's on Game Pass. That's a pretty dope little. John Cream says, I always ask to join on Steam, and nobody ever accepts. Damn. John, that's not your fault. That's your friends.
They more than likely have notifications turned off and they never even see it.
It's
I'll be
probably
Mine will get turned off. So.
Also, the other things, you can now easily pair accessories to your Xbox console without having to move from your couch. Push your Xbox console's pair button. Now you can just open the accessories app and connect the device wirelessly.
That is really cool.
That is really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, that like
dope.
Anything to make gamers more lazy. Jeez.
That's the thing. I'm all for everything else, but it'll always balance out because I'm always going to get up and put a disc in as long as I can.
Until that. Oh no, I was gonna say you're not lazy enough yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
That's in like 10 years,
Yeah.
20 years. Let's see. PC gaming app is getting some updates. And yeah, so again, like this is just another monthly update where Xbox is like, hey, here's what fans want to see from us. And I think the Discord video streaming is really cool as well. I think that's a really cool little feature that they're adding as well. The last news headline of the day. Deborah, you called it at the beginning of the show. You said that the Nintendo Direct's coming.
Yeah, it's next week. It'll be Nintendo Direct.
Okay. What point? Like, what date range would you give if you had to guess?
I would say between the 11th and the 15th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Deborah, are you one of the leakers that Insider Gaming spoke to?
I don't want to say anything, but yes.
But yes. Oh man! So Insider Gaming does say that according to Brazilian website Universo Nintendo, they're expecting a direct next week. Game Explain also said that there's a few known leakers on Twitter. I forget their names. I should have wrote them down, but I didn't. They said that those leakers are also claiming that there's a direct coming next week. So we'll see. Obviously, always excited for a Nintendo Direct. I would expect it to be very Mario heavy.
That makes sense.
More Mario Wonder, more Luigi's Mansion, more of the Peach game.
Yeah.
Probably more about Mario RPG Remake.
I heard they're selling a limited edition red Switch for the Mario.
Yeah, so you know what's funny? It's not in the headlines because it's not newsworthy at all, but so they announced a bundle for the Switch. Did you hear about this? Okay, right now I'm going to tell you what it is. You're going to tell me, why are they releasing that in 2023? This sounds like something they should have done like 5 years ago. Are you ready? Yeah. It's a Nintendo Switch, not an OLED.
Okay.
An OG model Nintendo Switch, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and 3 months of NSO.
They definitely
in 2023.
They had extra boxes there, like, we got to get rid of it.
I was just going to say they found a pallet in the warehouse.
Yeah, really. We got to get rid of
like,
all of these.
And it's not, I don't even think it's a special Switch. I think it's just a plain black, regular, not OLED Switch with a launch game, a Switch launch game.
They 100% found those in the back.
Yeah, they're like, shit, we got to move some units. Also kind of crazy.
I'd be like, okay, maybe.
Also kind of crazy that they never did a Mario Kart 8 bundle.
Yeah, that is.
Isn't that crazy?
I thought they did. In my memory.
No, the 1 year. So the 1 year, it was a Switch, and they came with a code to a voucher, but it was like one of 3 games, and Mario Kart 8 was one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I can't imagine someone in 2023 being like, I really need a base Switch with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah, I imagine it's gonna be very cheap.
Yeah, no, it's probably the price of a Switch, I would imagine.
How much is a Switch? It'll probably be like $200 for this. I don't know.
Anyways, so Nintendo Direct next week, hopefully. We'll see.
What do you think they'll show? If you had to name one thing, or what's one crazy thing?
You
think
one crazy thing? I think more GameCube ports or remakes. I mean, if you're asking me,
yeah, your expectations are.
Deborah, if you're like, and we're not even gonna do the Zelda. Although there's definitely sitting on those. I know they are. They are sitting on those. It's been pretty much. if you ask me, like, what's the crazy thing that I just, in my heart of hearts, want to just give me a Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door game, like, port. I don't even need a remake. I just want it playable on my
Year
Switch.
Door is GameCube.
Yes.
Yeah.
1,000 Year Door, one of my favorite games of all time. Easily like a top 10 for me.
4 years.
Maybe.
When they start doing GameCube.
Anyways, that's it for the news headlines. Let's run through the game releases of the week before we get to our topic of the show, which is Starfield. These are the game releases for the week of September 4th with a new added twist. See if you can pick up what I've added to this stuff, Devroro. Chance of Sonar comes out on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC today on September 5th with a price tag of $19.99. Rune Factory 3 Special comes out on Switch today as well with a price tag of $39.99. Baldur's Gate 3, ironically enough, makes its debut on PlayStation on September 6th at a price tag of $70. $69.99, excuse me. Starfield launches the same day on Xbox. What a coincidence, Deborah. At a price tag of $69.99 or on Game Pass. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis comes to iOS and Android September 7th with a price tag of free. It's a mobile. Fae Farm comes out on Nintendo Switch and PC on September 8th with a price tag of $59.99. And finally, NBA 2K24 comes out on PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC with a split price tag depending on the gen of $69.99 for current gen and $59.99 for last gen. So Dev, what's your pick of the week, Dev?
Starfield.
Maybe.
That or Fae Farm?
I was thinking NBA. No, it's Starfield. Starfield's pick of the week. I've already been playing it.
No hate out to Fae Farm. I have no idea what that is.
It's that farming game that we've seen at like 3 Nintendo Directs.
That farming game. There was like, you know how many farming games we've seen in the past? Like 2 Directs?
At the Nintendo Directs, yeah. Jeff, do you have a pick for the week?
I was thinking of going with the NBA 2K24 because man,
I made a joke about it too.
some of these dudes, like I've seen people freeze the game in their little I don't even know what it's called, but that software they have to freeze the game. And when you zoom in on certain players' faces, it like legit looks like the player. It's wild.
I think apparently there's celebrities in the audience.
That's believable. I could see that being a thing. All right. Well, that's the game releases for the week. Time for the topic of the show. Devroro, I've been playing Starfield for a couple days now.
A lot of reviews. It's not the same. I gotta know.
You gotta know. All right. So, full disclosure, I'm 16 hours in. So I have not scratched the surface of this game.
Level
13.
13.
Yes, level 13. I think I might have just leveled up to 14. But in that range. I'm 16 hours in. And the moment-to-moment gameplay of Starfield is absolutely excellent. It's a Bethesda RPG through and through. If you love Bethesda RPGs, if you like Bethesda RPGs, you're going to like Starfield. You're going to love Starfield. However you feel about Fallout and Elder Scrolls, you're going to feel that way about Starfield.
You didn't like those games already.
Then this isn't for you. This is a Western RPG. This is a Bethesda RPG through and through. Obviously, there's a lot more piled on top of it, which we will talk about. But that's like the core. My core bare bones is that. I think the gunplay is great. I know that they had some people from id working on the game. I don't know if they worked on strictly the gunplay or not, but the gunplay feels really good. Weapons feel great to use. All around, though, I'm really loving my time with Starfield in a very general sense. I do have some issues we'll get into. I was reading off my notes that I made as I was playing the game. So the skill tree is massive. And you were kind of looking at it when you came over. Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. A lot of it's really important stuff.
That's a good thing. I like that. That you get an upgrade and it matters. You actually feel it. I think that's cool.
Yeah. And I also like that we discovered today that with the upgrades, so each skill has 4 levels. And in those 4 levels, you can unlock the base skill, and then you start, a challenge that lets you unlock the next level of that skill once you complete that challenge.
And the challenge is based off of the skill. The challenge is related to the skill.
Correct. So for example, there's the weightlifting perk or skill, which increases the amount that you can carry. And the challenge for that is sprinting while you're 75% or more encumbered.
So basically, the skill. I think that's cool.
I think it's really cool. Yeah, exactly. It puts it into practice, and it is really dope.
Like lockpicking, so you can upgrade lockpicking. All you have to do is lockpick. That's
yeah. So I think that that's also really awesome. The main story has a really interesting plot from where I'm at. Again, I'm super early in. I don't know where it goes. I don't know anything about that. This is early impression. It's got a really interesting concept behind it that I'm really into, and I want to know where we go from here. At about the 13-hour mark, I had a pretty significant story beat update, but I'll talk about that a little bit without getting too spoilery in a bit. The scale of this game is absolutely insane. You were kind of watching me play, and we had discussions about like planetary exploration, traveling. And I just think that the game is just so huge and just massive that honestly, I know some people are upset about it. So what I'm referring to is in Starfield, the people were under the assumption that you were going to be able to get in your ship, fly directly to any planet, land anywhere on said planet in a seamless transition. It's not the case in Starfield. Starfield, basically, yes, you can travel to any of the planets in the game. You can't fly directly. You can, but you can't. If you do, Alana Pierce, the streamer, she tried to fly to Pluto, and after 7 hours, she got there, but she couldn't land there because it didn't load up.
Invisible.
Right. But the point of that is basically you want to use your hyperdrive or your grav, it's called the grav unit. You want to use that to jump from planet to planet, and you also land via a cutscene, and you take off via a cutscene. There is flying in space in those areas in space. I've played some of that. I'll talk about the space combat in a little bit, but it is very streamlined, and so that's going to disappoint some people. And I understand it's going to disappoint some people.
I think one thing that hurts it, the closest game that you can compare Starfield to right now is No Man's Sky in terms of like a space game where you fly and leave and all that, and that kind of hurts Starfield in a way. Shout out to the Doge.
He has now hit his 2-month anniversary as a member. Congratulations to the Doge. Thank you for your support. We really appreciate it.
Got that green cabinet now.
Yeah, he's got the green cabinet. If you want to get a cool video game arcade cabinet next to your name in the chat and exclusive emojis to members, subscribe to become a member today. It's only $5. Like that's a steal.
But yeah, like it's not a space. It's more of a narrative-driven story. You know, a giant world that you can do it in, and I think there's a little bit confusion with people who were looking for a space sim.
Yeah, and again, I think that the best way to put it is that like this is not a space sim. People are going to assume it's a space sim. It's like I would describe Starfield as a Bethesda RPG with space sim like elements. It is not. It's not 100% a space sim. It much more leans into its Bethesda RPG DNA more than it does trying to be a space sim. And like, here's the thing.
And I said earlier, I think with updates, it'll become more like a space sim. I think it'll be. It's just right now, it's the game that they wanted to.
A good way to put it would be it's Fallout in space. Like if you imagine the Fallout map and you just think space is that map spread way out and you can fast travel anywhere, like that's pretty much what it is.
Basically. Yeah. And so like my thoughts on this specifically is that I think that the game is better for this. I think streamlining the travel and stuff, it just works better. The cutscenes are really well done that transition you from planet to planet, and the grav jump. They're really cool cutscenes. They're really well done, and they still really gather that feeling of taking off into space. It's got the musical cue that goes with it. I really love it. It's a very cinematic thing, and it works. I think also, as massive as the game is, I would not want to travel the long way. You know what I mean? Like, you were watching me earlier where I was like the one time where it was slightly inconvenient was I was trying to find the materials on a planet so that way I could fully survey this planet. And I was trying to find the H2O. And I had to leave the planet like 3 times to find the H2O. And that honestly, like, that was the most inconvenient that it's been, and that didn't bother me. Because, I mean, on the Series X, the load time is very short, very limited, about 2 or 3 seconds. Bam, bam, you're up, down, you're wherever you got to be. Thought it's great. Ty in the chat says, the problem is people are comparing Starfield to No Man's Sky, but Starfield is more comparable to Mass Effect. Once you look at it like that, those concerns go away. Starfield never said it was a space. And I agree with that. I agree with that, Ty. I think it's a really good way to
Yeah,
put
and
it. It is a lot more like Mass Effect than it is No
It is,
Man's
yeah.
Sky.
I
Well,
actually
I will
want to
say though,
expand on
they
that.
didn't say it was a space sim, but I think they implied it a little heavily. There's a
Well,
lot of things that were
I don't
implied.
think so.
With I don't know the wording that they used, it seemed like because I see where people were like, "Oh, I thought you could do this. I thought you could do this," and I was like, "Yeah, I thought that too." But it was
Well, I wanted to expand on that real quick and ask you guys what you think about this. So, where do you think the idea came from where everybody seemed to think that it was going to be like that No Man's Sky type thing? Because even I had that idea a little bit. And I
So,
was like trying to think to myself, like, where did I hear someone say that or anything? It feels
well,
like
early
something that
on,
either the community put in our own heads or we all just kind of did it
we
ourselves.
definitely did it.
so I know where it came from because I remember when Bethesda was showing off the game, they said, "Oh, these are all the planets. You can go to these planets," and that's 100% factual. But the other thing is that, and people are pointing this out, if you go back and look at the Starfield Direct, they show you the gameplay.
Yeah.
They show the process of leaving the planet, going to the planet,
Oh,
including the cutscenes.
No, the thing is though, they did
It shows those
Yeah,
things.
they said early on nobody expected to like. I think it's called dynamic landing or something. Nobody expected that in the game when it dropped because they blatantly said like, no, there's a cutscene. We don't find dynamically landing important enough in our
And
game.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree with that.
but I do think it's one of those things where when you experience it, like I told you before, like anything that involves you in a vehicle and just seamlessly going is always better than a cutscene or than a loading screen. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
I get
just
that.
I think it's one of those. It's hard not to compare it to No Man's Sky. Is what I'm saying. I know it's way more like Mass Effect or like Fallout or anything like that. It's just hard not to compare it to Starfield, just simply because of the type of game it is.
It seems to be one of the biggest things I hear people say is they're like, I wish I could land and take off with my own ship. And I'm like, why? What's the point? You're just going to hit R2 and take off? Like, it
But it's
doesn't
really,
matter.
but Jeff, I will say that it's really cool when you actually do it in No Man's Sky. You get on, you're getting your ship and you fly straight up and you just go and you're in space and it's like there's no, it's like seamless and it's really really cool.
Yeah,
I will say
that does
it's cool.
sound pretty cool.
And it's just one of those things where this game doesn't need
It doesn't need. It doesn't lean that way.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a space sim.
Yeah. It would be cool if it still had it. It doesn't type of game.
And the other thing is that people, I think, was a misconception, was that on a planet, on any given planet, you can land anywhere on that planet. People think that you can't. You can. So on any planet, there are like hubs, right? Where you like they're locations on the map on the planet that says like, hey, if you go here, this is a landing zone or a building or something of interest, and you can choose to land there,
right?
yeah, in that area,
Yeah.
or you can pick anywhere on the planet and land there, and it will generate that part of the planet for you. Now you cannot walk around the entire circumference of the planet, but why would you want to?
I get why people want to. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think.
But I mean, for this kind of game, like that's not
because again, they thought it was. They think it's some. They thought it was something else. You know what I mean? I get 100%. I get why, especially with any game. You always push that boundary where you leave. You know, you leave the boundary area. I think walking around a planet just sounds cool in theory. I mean, you can do it in No Man's Sky, so like it is cool. It's just not necessary for this game. Again, it's you land on this planet. You hop between a few points, and that's it.
Yeah, well, I gotta screenshot the comments because Ty said I'm.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often.
I'm gonna hold on to that for later.
You're not right very often, so
I'm right very often. It's just
yeah,
that Ty and I don't agree on some
you're
things.
not wrong pretty often, so yeah, it's definitely save that memory. You don't want to lose that.
I'm just gonna save. Anyways,
and John, yes,
yeah,
ground vehicles. I think Bethesda said, you know, they made this game for running and everything, but ground vehicles would make it so much cooler. I mean, like just for traverse because the planets are pretty bare, and they are pretty looking, but like having a scooter or something would be really cool.
Yeah, like a nice dirt bike would work. Just have it stored on the ship.
I'm almost running 80% of the play that I was watching.
Yeah, so I do agree with John's sentiment there, is that it would be nice for there to be some sort of way to quickly travel.
They got to change the gameplay.
So here's a tip if you're playing Starfield, and again the game went live an hour ago, so maybe you're watching this pod, you're trying to get some opinions on Starfield before you buy Game Pass or buy it or whatever. Try to early on invest in the jetpack skill. Just get one skill point on there, so that way you can use the boost pack, because that's right. Especially on zero gravity planets, that's going to be really clutch for you. Now that doesn't fix all the problems, obviously, because it's more. It doesn't go very far for very long.
Can you I mean, also you can buy jetpacks and upgrade.
I'm only 16 hours in.
I gotcha.
I would assume you can get better jetpacks, but again, I'm still really early.
You're
I
still
don't
in
know.
the tutorial, Rome.
Can you do it while overcumbered? No,
You can jetpack when over encumbered, but again, the problem is
it takes away oxygen.
jumping takes away oxygen,
Okay,
which
gotcha.
makes it hard. And we'll talk about encumbrance.
No, the jetpack is definitely a good medium.
I think it's definitely a
for-
good thing to grab. So make
Yeah.
sure you grab that. Ty says, taking off with No Man's Sky, it's cool when you do it for the first 5-10 times. Eventually, it's like, whatever. These are what No Man's Sky players are saying. Some of them.
That might be true, Ty, but imagine replacing that with a loading screen. You know
But
what
it's
I
only
mean?
2 seconds.
It doesn't matter. Replacing it with it's first of all, it's longer than 2 seconds. This is a very large game, and the loading screens are a little bit longer. But it's replacing that with a loading screen just doesn't pair. I think seamlessly doing it is always better. Imagine if every time you got on a ship in Black Flag there was a loading screen. It's just not as cool. Even if you do it 20, 30 times.
Okay, so hold on. So we need to stop real quick. Ty says he's 30 hours in, never came across a border on the game. That's true. John Cream says,
No, you have to be
I
looking for the
did
border.
not know the boost pack was skill based. I was wondering why it wasn't. He didn't see in the controls.
John,
Okay,
you definitely pushed a button with Jerome because he is. I think that's going to be your.
we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
John, yes, it is a skill based perk. Go into your tech tree. It's on the tech one, I believe. It's on that first row. Go there. Make sure that's the next thing you invest in. That's why it's not working for you. I will talk about that. I'm just going down my notes though, so let's keep on moving.
But to say what Ty said, like he never came across a border. When they told us about the borders, it was that somebody ran for 10 minutes in a straight line.
Yeah.
That is a lot of area. That's a lot of ground to cover if you're running 10 minutes in one direction.
Yeah.
I heard it takes 40 minutes to hit the wall.
They did. Yeah, Bethesda used the number 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Like
Bethesda
it's
says
far. If you want to hit the wall, you got to work for it.
Honestly, 10 minutes is far.
And here's the thing, right? And because there's so many planets and like so much to do, you're not spending that much time walking in a straight line on any planet. You're just not. You're just factually not.
And I guess I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing.
There's another thing I wanted to ask you guys. Did you guys hear about the streamer? It's a girl who spent 7 hours flying to a planet. I was like, wait, I thought there was supposed to be walls that people are talking about, but it doesn't seem like within the solar system there's a wall.
So yeah, we had talked about this at the beginning of the impressions, but so basically to lay it out for you, Jeff. So Alana Pierce, she used to work at IGN. She's a really good streamer. She works at Sony Santa Monica, so she actually wrote God of War Ragnarok, or was one of the writers. But anyways, so she was doing a stream, and she noticed that the planets were you could see Pluto, and like or all the planets, and they orbit. And so Bethesda said, like, yes, all the games or all the planets that you see in space, they do orbit around their solar system's sun, like in real time. So basically, what Alana did was she set up, she warped to the nearest point that wasn't Pluto and set off for Pluto. 7 hours later, she got to Pluto. Now the thing is, number one, she confirmed that all the planets do in fact orbit because she had to constantly realign herself to not miss the planet.
Yep.
Number two, when she got to the planet, there was no indicator to land there. There was nothing to do there. It was not a physical object. She went right through it as if it were just a model. Now the thing is that some people were just like, "Oh, see, it sucks." It's like Alana said, nobody should ever play this game this way. Like, I was just doing it for the sake of knowing for sure what it was. Yeah. But like, if you're playing this game and you're flying 7 hours straight just to get to a planet, like you're doing it wrong.
The thing is that you have to know when you put that in the game. I think it's really cool because it's a backdrop that's actually there. But you have to know that people are going to try to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are going to push it to this limit.
I get it, but
it's like if you're playing a game and you see the city across from the bay, you can't go to that city. You know that's fake. You know it's not there, but people are going to try and are going to drown in the water.
So I mean, just continuing on with the scale of this game, I haven't even scratched the surface on some things, so I don't even have like a lot of opinions on some of these things. So like, there's so many galaxies. Shipbuilding, I've done next to no shipbuilding. I bought one upgrade for one of my ships to help with space combat, but that's literally it. Speaking of space combat, I think it's fun. I like it. As a recommendation though, I think I find that it got really difficult really early. Like, I found myself in what was at the time like my third space battle, and I got like completely wrecked.
So one thing I did hear is that you still have the starter ship, right? I heard that the starter ship is very bad with that. Once you upgrade your ship, things will get way better, but like it's gonna be rough until you get another ship.
Yeah. So my recommendation, and again, that's how early I am in the game, is I would try to avoid space combat unless you kind of again have a better ship or upgrade your ship. A lot of things I'm reading online say do not upgrade the first ship because it's not a good ship.
Right.
So I don't have a lot to say about that exactly.
My advice would be
Um,
it's not a spoiler, but when you first start the game, there's going to be a quest line. It's a side quest line called the Mantis. I
yep.
suggest everybody do that.
So that's on my list, and I'm actually going to be doing that kind of next. I've heard some good things about it, so I'm looking forward to it.
It's really
Um,
good story-wise, and there's very good loot. Very good.
I wonder if an AI could write that story. Anyways, 16 hours in, and I think you're just bad luck. But so 16 hours in, when I was writing these impressions, no bugs.
That's actually surprising. I've heard that there are bugs in the game. It's a Bethesda game.
Yeah, for sure.
But nothing. I heard there was nothing game breaking.
Minus one time where I had a weird camera angle. So I had this thing where I went into a room thinking it was going to be a big fight. So I like snuck upstairs and like tried to get the drop on him. And when I fell down, like the camera, like, oh, he's walking through the door, cut the camera to him to his viewpoint so he could see the characters talking. And it was all messed up. But I kind of chalked it up to me not walking through the front door. If I had, it would have been fine. And then when you came over, one of the characters was running into the wall. One of the companions. Other than that,
I heard like the worst of it is like reloading, but like
I've had no problems in terms of any of that stuff.
Okay, yeah.
TJ makes a good point there about that space combat. I've noticed people turning down the difficulty as soon as you get into space because it's kind of ridiculous early game.
Yeah, it was. It was really. I was just like, I was livid. I was sitting here playing, and I was getting destroyed on this third battle.
Were you fighting more than one enemy at a time? Yeah, that's.
Well, you have to because that's just what the fight was.
Yeah.
You can turn the difficulty down real time, so next time you die, just swap it out.
Yeah, I don't like doing that though. Like I'm very principle based. Like I'll play a game on normal for my first playthrough, but like for that normal playthrough, I'm not lowering.
I agree.
It's like I need to get good. Like if I can't beat this game on normal, like I'll play a game on easy mode for like achievements and to like kind of have a fun easy playthrough if I've already beaten it once or twice. But like I'm on the first playthrough, it's always normal, no cutting corners on difficulty. So for me that was kind of rough. But I left, I went back, I leveled up a little bit. I think I put some points on my ballistics or something, and was good to go.
Okay.
Well, I was able to beat it. But again, that was only like the third battle, so very early.
Were these battles that were, I guess,
quest based? They were side quest based. So here's a big thing, and I'm going to keep this as spoiler free as possible. About 13 hours in, I experienced what I would describe, and Ty's going to know what I'm talking about. And I guess if John, if you're far enough, you'll know what I'm talking about. I experienced a big gameplay shakeup that nobody's talked about. That there's no videos because it's trying to be spoiler free.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Now there was like a little tease about something about it in the Starfield Direct, so I'm not gonna say it was completely blind, but I was like, holy shit, this is really like, and I don't even have it all figured out yet and all the stuff. Like I don't want to spoil anything. But like again, 13 hours in the main quest line, just came across like this cool thing, and I'm it was a gameplay based feature. I don't want to comment on it, but it was really cool, and I appreciated the game for the surprising.
One thing I did see is that people were saying if you feel like the game is slow or anything like that, just progress the story. Progress the story, and you'll love it a lot more.
Well, so John says that he went to a UC controlled planet, and they were in a space battle with pirates, and he helped them out. It was a cool little side thing. And yeah, Starfield's got some really cool side stuff where you go to a planet and you receive like distress signals, and you go and investigate. Consider playing the game on hard or very hard at some point, because once you get better weapons, the game gets a bit too easy. I'll consider it, but I generally don't. Like if it gets easy, that's just the nature of the game for me on my first playthrough. But I don't know, we'll see.
I would recommend hard as well, just saying.
I understand. Little thing I put in my notes, and it's like there's probably other games that do this, but I've never noticed a game that do this. So I was going through the options in Starfield, and there's a save on pause feature where it's like you can set a timer, like how long your game's been paused, and it will auto save. And
cool.
I thought that was a really cool feature because especially because I spend a lot of time on Google when I'm playing Starfield.
Yeah.
Like it's really cool. I have it set to like 5 minutes. If I pause the game and it's paused for 5 minutes, it'll save it.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
It's a really neat little feature, and I appreciate that. Yeah. So the game starts, and again, I guess I'm also trying to give some parting tips as well. The game starts with the character creation suite, obviously, and they ask you to choose like a background and like trait. And so the background is basically 3 starting skill points and like a character backstory for you. And so I spent a lot of time on this, like just kind of going back and forth. I would say that it doesn't really matter which one you pick because by level 4 you could, like, you know what I mean, like after 3 levels you're going to get 3 more skill points. You can kind of use them however you want.
Yeah.
But so a lot of people were like, oh, you should try to role play, like make a character in the game. So like I chose the Ronin class.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the idea, like I was reading the Ronin character description and I thought it would be like kind of cool to behave that way, where it's like you're basically like a wandering blade, a sword for hire, or a gun for hire. You know, to some people you're a hero. To others, they're a worst nightmare. And I was like, that just sounds really cool.
They did say that like you'll get voice certain like
There
speech
are
options, but it's very, very limited.
It is very limited, and
which kind of
that's
sucks. But it's also cool that it's there. I wish there was more of it.
so my advice is don't fret. Like if
Yeah.
you're sitting there on the character creation like I was, and I spent like literally like 30 minutes, 40
Pick
minutes,
something
whatever.
you just think that's the coolest. Like,
Yeah, just hey, just pick something that you think you're gonna have some fun with. It doesn't really affect it. At least not. I'm 16 hours in, and I think I got one dialogue option being like, "Oh, so you were a Ronin, huh?" But so yeah, that's my character in Starfield. I was like, I'm a Ronin, but I'm a good guy Ronin. Like, hey, I got to make a living, and you know, I'm gun for hire, but I'm not just gonna help all the bad guys.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Good guy who does these things to help good people.
Bounty hunter.
Well, I'm making kind of, but I'm not hunting bounty.
Yeah.
But obviously, if bounties are in the game, I will pursue them.
Yep. I would suggest that character creation screen, if you're going to choose something like the shotgun mastery and stuff like that, make sure you use the shotguns in the game. I see a lot of people choosing like, you know, pistol, and then they don't use pistols. It's a big boost in damage.
Oh, it's a 10% boost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for sure. And then also I chose, like, they ask you to choose like background traits as well.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them I was just kind of like, I don't know which one I like. So the ones that I went with, I chose to have parents because I was like, why not? Which was cool and kind of funny. And then I also forget I think the other one was like I had a religious upbringing for one of the religions. So like I can basically, when I get there, I can go to their church and open up a chest and get a bunch of items from that chest. And then I forget what my third one was. I think I might have chosen, which gives you like an attack boost for your allies if you do things that they like.
Okay. So the more your allies like you, the stronger.
Yeah,
Okay,
they'll get attack boosts.
That's cool.
Because I'm usually like, hey, I want to be friends with them. So that works. So yeah, again, I would say don't overthink that. Like just pick some stuff and have fun with it. The kid stuff thing is pretty funny because you go and you visit your parents and they're like, "Oh, we're so happy to see you," and just like,
Isn't one of the downsides like you pay them like 3%
so
of your
so
profit or something like that?
every in-game week you give them 2% of your money because of the rising cost of groceries. Your dad's retired
Yeah.
and your mom is considering retiring.
I love that.
So what was funny is that, and this isn't really a spoiler. I won't say what it was, but so I completed this big main quest. It was the main quest where with the special thing that happened.
Okay.
And so you go back to like the HQ of this group, and you're just like, you walk in and your parents are just there. I'm like, Mom, Dad, what are you guys doing here? And they were like, oh, well, we're just so proud of you that you're a part of this group that we wanted to come and visit you. And your father, he's just gushing over everything. He's like, I'm so proud of you, son. Like, thanks, Dad. Totally don't have issues. But so the dad's like, hey, like, now that you're part of this group, like, I actually had a colleague who had this item that like belonged to like one of the old like board members of this group that you're in right now. So it's like, here you go. We cleaned it up and it works, and here it is. And it's just like, thanks, Dad. So like, yeah, I guess the parents are just gonna visit you. I've heard some funny things. Like apparently, if you go to like one of the nightclubs in New Atlantis, because your parents live in New Atlantis, you can actually find them like on like a old people trying to go on a date in a nightclub. I haven't seen it myself, but I'm gonna try to seek it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've definitely been enjoying that. Kind of want to move on to some things that I had issues with so far, because again, this isn't a review. When I get a little bit further, I'll put a score on it. The menus. Or no, let me go with this first. So I think there's an encumbrance issue in Starfield. I think that this is a game where you're picking up a lot of stuff. And I understand that other Bethesda games are like this. I've played Fallouts, I've played all, you know, you name it, I've played it. I understand how over encumbrance is and everything, but this game for me to date is like one of the worst Bethesda games when it comes to encumbrance. I am finding myself desperately trying to get the challenges done for the weightlifting perk so I can increase how much I can hold. I think that there is just a big balancing issue here, and I would like to see it get patched in the future. Maybe I'm in a minority here. I don't know. But it's like there's so much to explore, and I just find myself over encumbered. My ship was on my last journey, I had filled up my ship's hull, pretty much I filled up my stuff, and then you were like, "Oh, well, why don't you see if um your companion could hold stuff?" And she could. So then I gave her stuff, so I wasn't over encumbered, but she was like getting up there and how much she could hold too.
Yeah. And I wonder if the one thing that probably would be cool if like different characters could hold different. Maybe a robot character can hold a lot more than a human character, stuff like that. So maybe they'll let you pick and choose.
Maybe. So I mean, I that's number one. I do think that there's a little bit of a balancing issue there. I think also it's kind of lame that like really early in the game, I'm like having to pick over more exciting perks because I just really need that extra carry space or carry weight. So I wasn't super thrilled with that, and it's still something that I'm constantly having to struggle with in the game. Um, excuse me. So that's one thing. Next thing is I think the menus are a little clunky and convoluted. I think that, and you've been watching me play. I think going through them is just kind of a hassle. It's kind of jarring to me going from Fallout because the last Bethesda Game Studios game that I played was Fallout 4.
Yeah.
And so to go from Fallout 4 where you're like very easily going through the menus and everything is very organized to like you have to press start and then you have to go into like inventory and then you have to go through the inventory.
I mean that's kind of normal for I guess.
It is, but I think I don't know why, but for some reason for me, maybe it's just because lack of tutorial as well. It's just very jarring to find everything. There is a lot of menu scrolling and going through stuff.
It is weird that they don't time. Like I see you going through stuff and it's like
it's all bunched in the left.
It's all bunched in the left, and like even the name, like you was like when you said you found out that you can see your ship stuff from that one terminal, and it was like it didn't even show the full name of your ship. It was just like cut off. And like, that's a weird choice.
Yeah, for sure. So again, the menus are kind of clunky and just very convoluted. Not a big fan of them. Ty says that he agrees, but companions can hold. You have a safe in Constellation that can hold. Well, you do have a safe in Constellation. That's fair. The problem is that you can't. If you're over encumbered, you can't make it to Constellation. You can upgrade your cargo hold. Okay, so that I didn't think about. That makes sense. You can upgrade your cargo hold. Yeah. I'm still on the first ship. So again, 16 hours in, but that makes a lot of sense.
It's definitely an issue I've heard a lot of people complain about. Being cucumbered definitely sucks. Like it even has a nickname now. It's called being cucumbered.
I was gonna say you said cucumbers. I was like,
yeah, that's what everyone's calling it.
Oh, okay.
I think they just want you to earn it in a way. Like it's there to earn. You can do it. You just have to play the game.
I get it. And again, this is just the impressions of a guy who's 16 hours in.
Yeah.
And the menu you mentioned, Rome, like the character screen, you should have a spot that like where your helmet goes and where your chest piece goes. Like
I do.
And it's weird that it's not like set up. Like, have you ever played Destiny or seen the Destiny character screen?
No.
Well, you have like you see your guy in the middle, and then around him you see the slots that you would put your stuff in. And if you click on the slot, it'll show you everything that could go in that slot. It's just really organized and helps you figure out, like, I don't know.
Or even,
and I don't know.
I think even Fallout 4 kind of has a better menu experience. You know what
I mean? I can't put my finger on it. As the hours are going on, I'm getting more acclimated to it, so it's bothering me less and less. But that first like 5 hours, I was constantly like, what am I going? What am I doing?
But I think
I am getting it.
It's very pretty looking.
For sure.
If you're playing on mouse and keyboard, by the way, when it says press tab to exit this screen, tab does not exit the screen.
Funny. And then so this is gonna bring me to my last problem with the game, and it's honestly it's my biggest problem so far. And John said it earlier. Is that Starfield does not do a good job at teaching you how to play Starfield. And like here's the thing. I'm not someone that needs my handheld. I use Google for like all the new games I play almost. If I have a question about a game and the game doesn't make it super clear, like this year I played a lot of Octopath Traveler 2. I used Google a few times for that. Zelda, same thing. Like if the game didn't teach me or I didn't remember it, like I use Google because it's there. That's what it, you know what I mean? Like that's what it's there for me. So I don't mind having to go to Google to find out things for Starfield. But there are so many things that I wouldn't have known if I didn't look it up or like watch someone give like a Starfield tip video. Like the booster pack thing. I did not know that naturally. I saw a review that said, we recommend that you invest in the boost pack very early on because you're going to want to use it. So then I kept that knowledge in my head. The game does not tell you that. There's a lot of things the game doesn't tell you.
Yeah.
Things that I had to look up include.
I kind of think what you ended up generalized to that. It's like,
yeah,
he's going to go back and play.
well, I'm glad that I could do that for him because that's going to increase his enjoyment of this excellent game. Starfield is an excellent game. If you like, especially when you know what you're doing, when you know what you're doing and you're going through the gameplay and you're nailing it, it's amazing. But like this game does not like so. The Jeff right now has got the B-roll playing of like the hacking. They don't really explain this hacking super well, so I actually had to figure it out just by failing. Where I was like, oh well, wait, hold on. So there's 5 layers, and then like I went backwards and didn't even realize that I solved it. Like I was like, it took me like a second. And I was like, oh, okay, this is how it works.
I still
Like, I
see
figured it out.
streamers who have no clue how to do this. They look at it and they're like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like,
I like that Jeff's able to kind of bring the streamer perspective into it too, because it's like, yeah, like when I was playing this, I was like, what do I do? And then I also learned that you waste digipicks every time you fucking go backwards, and I was like, that would have been nice to know, because I wouldn't have rushed through some of these early puzzles.
Okay,
and
yeah, that
like
part does.
You see that number on the 11 on the right where it says that, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, I have 11 of these. If you back up, you'll lose one. Like if you put that in and then you undo it, like why the game should tell you that.
They should tell you that.
I didn't know that the ships had storage holes. That's something I probably should have figured out common sense wise. But I discovered that my ship had a storage hole because I just happened to see it when I was walking past the cockpit one time. I walked past it for like 4 hours, and my over encumbered issue was way worse at that point because I was like, damn, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I have all this stuff and I have nowhere to put it, and like except for the Constellation storage locker, but I don't want to go all the way back to Constellation. And so no, like I just happened to like walk by and like the menu popped up for a second like to interact with it, and I was like, what was that? I turned back around, I was like, a storage locker in the ship? What?
Yeah.
now here's a question for you. So, you know those missions where you have to like target another ship's engines, like they don't want to destroy the ship, but you have to disable them? Did you know that there is a second form of of ship combat that zooms in on specifically their engines or specifically their missiles?
No, I did not know.
See, that's another thing. I've noticed everyone that I watch play, they're like, how do I target their engines? And they're like, oh, I guess I just have to be good enough at shooting the laser and hit the engines. No, there is literally an alternate form of combat where you zoom in on the ship and you target specifically the engine. And I don't know what button it is, but look at it next time you're playing and you're going to be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, again, and there's just so many things like that in the game. Like, I didn't know that you didn't have to be. Oh, John says you need the skill for that too.
I was gonna say, I thought that was a skill.
That's the digipick I think he's talking about, but I'm not sure.
No, the ship combat of zooming in on like certain components. I think that's a skill as well.
Okay.
And then, but like again, it's just like there's just so many things that the game doesn't teach you.
You know,
like
I think they would benefit from. I think a lot of games do. Well, they'll show an upgrade and then they'll show a video of the upgrade being used.
Yeah, something like that.
They usually do it in like action games.
Like honestly, it's like anything. Like here's the thing: I can understand them being like, this is a Bethesda game. We're not going to teach you how to play a Bethesda game. And I'm not asking for that. I don't need them to teach me about over encumbrance. Like I don't need them to teach me how to like do dialogue options. I don't need to be taught how to do those. I can figure those things out, even though they're slightly different in this. But like it's the things that like it's the Starfield stuff that you're not explaining to the player. And I'm okay with a game not holding your hand. I'm okay with a game being like, hey, you're gonna have to figure some stuff out. This is this kind of game, and I'm okay with that. But I just think for Starfield, there's a lot of things. Some of them, and Ty just said it, a lot of weird design choices, and the lack of tutorials really hurts that. And it's just like, yeah, man, like I would have loved.
Yeah, Ubisoft does that thing. You get an upgrade.
Like here's the funny thing. So a lot of the reviews that I read that were like the mainstream reviews, which gave it Starfield like 7s, they're like, oh, the story starts so slow. I don't think it starts that slow. I mean, it's somewhat slow, but
I
not
like all the features.
not slow enough where I wouldn't want a tutorial in the game.
Yeah.
Like I would have loved for the starting of the game to be an hour longer to say like, hey, here's everything you need to know about this. Here's everything you could do.
Yeah, I think a tutorial mode should have been optional. You know, and maybe it add, like you said, adds another hour to the gamers. But
well, what was the joke? We were watching right before we went live. We were just kind of hanging out. We were watching a video like 10 things I wish I knew about Starfield, and it was from Macca's Guides. Makes great videos. You should check them out. And Macca was like, "There's a help page," and I was like, "What? There's a help page? Like the game didn't even tell me that there's a help
in the menu.
Page.
You press start and it's right there. It says help."
And he's like, "Hey, you can check your status by pressing start and Y on the Xbox." And I'm like, "What? Like, what is going on?" John says, "Rome, is this game bigger than Skyrim on release? I know Elder Scrolls is an immensely popular franchise, but not every Starfield player is a Fallout Elder Scrolls player." Oh man, that's a good question. I would say that Starfield. You say on release. Are you saying bigger as in terms of scope?
In scope, absolutely. But I think he means bigger as in game award.
Oh damn, Jeff with the B-roll had the health menu up. I didn't even notice that. Good job, Jeff.
I think maybe he means in greatness. Like
that was purely by chance.
You think this game is
so well done?
You think this game is Starfield level greatness, the way Skyrim
greatness? Oof.
On launch.
Man, that's a really hard question because obviously Skyrim is like S tier. The same way I would value like Fallout 3. I love Fallout 3 so much. I would love New Vegas is my favorite, even though it's super buggy. That's why I say Fallout 3 is the better game, but I love New Vegas more.
I didn't play New Vegas. That's one on the list.
New Vegas is so
3. I love Fallout 3 is.
It's the ultimate beauty of the games of the world that Xbox brought Bethesda and Obsidian together, because Obsidian made Fallout New Vegas. It's just poetry. You can't write it any better. In terms of like, is it going to be as big? Like, man, that's a great question. I think that there is a lot to love about Starfield.
I don't think at launch, maybe not at launch. I think this game will surpass.
Look, like all I'm saying is that like this story, this plot line, compared to almost any like Bethesda game I've ever played, it's got me generally intrigued about it. It's got like an allure to it where I really want to know what the hell's going on. Like people say that the story starts slow. I think that it has a very interesting thing that happens right at the beginning that's like really cool, and I'm just like, I would like to know what this is and why this is happening. And I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, you're still also very early in.
So. Yeah, I am also very early in. So asking me this question, maybe if I was like 40 hours in, I could have a better answer for you. Ty says that it's not Skyrim greatness. He believes it doesn't capture those elements as such. However, it can in the future.
I agree with that.
It's a good game, but it's not a Baldur's Gate 3 or Tears of the Kingdom.
I was going to actually talk about that. I don't think this is the game of year contender. As great as it is, I don't think it contends with other games that have come out.
So I think my thoughts are, if you ask me,
specifically those two games that he made, Baldur's Gate.
And again, I'm not giving a score yet. Yeah. If you're asking me, do I think that when I'm done Starfield, I'm gonna rank it in my top 5 games here? I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. It like right now, there are 2 games ahead of it for me personally that I have played. That could change as time goes on. But there are a lot of people that are loving Starfield. Greg Miller. Greg Miller from Kinda Funny. Known PlayStation guy, by the way, so people are always giving him a hard time. He has not been able to put Starfield down. He is on his fifth playthrough of Starfield. He hit something in the New Game Plus, and I don't know what the New Game Plus does different. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But he was like, he tweeted something the other day where he's like, "Holy fucking shit!" All caps #Starfield. And he's like, "This New Game Plus is insane, incredible, right?" And so, which leads me to like a big issue that I'm having, and it's not a problem with the game. It's an uncertainty of the game, where, so like I read these reviews, and everyone's like, "Oh, but there's a New Game Plus. You gotta play the New Game Plus, right?" And so, some of the reviewers and people who played the game early were like, "The real game begins when you get to New Game Plus," and they were like, they implied, and some of them even straight up said, you should run through the main campaign to get to New Game Plus. But then others have been like, no, don't do that. play it the way you would play a Bethesda game, which is explore, do the side stuff, do all that stuff. And they've even gone as far as to say, and I don't know what it is because nobody's spoiling anything.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it really hard because you don't know who to believe. It's
Yeah.
literally two people pointing at each other being like, they're wrong with no evidence. And it's like the other people are like, no, like the thing you get in the New Game Plus, it's cool, but it's not that cool. Like you should definitely enjoy your playthrough. So I've kind of find myself like in a really weird position.
So on that thing, I've heard it in the middle. Play the game how you want. Lean a little bit more towards the
Trying to
main
get it
story.
done. Yeah, that's how I'm doing it right
Do
now.
the side stuff. Do the stuff you want to do. Just like lean towards. And I think apparently there's going to be, maybe it's the point you were talking about, but apparently there's going to be like a big shift in the game that you'll feel where you're like, okay, I can do more side stuff. So I don't know what that is.
So I don't know
what that means.
John was saying talking more about popularity. He was 12 when Skyrim released in 2011, so he's not sure if that was as hyped as much as Starfield. He knows it's like 50 plus million copies sold in 10 years. So here's the thing. I think
Starfield more popular only because of the day and age.
I agree with that. I think Starfield has a lot more going for it that's going to make it popular. Again, like you said, the day and age we live in like gaming is in a boom right now where like a lot more people are playing games now than they were in 2011. Also, it's kind of, I don't want to say
this game also has room to grow.
It has room to grow.
Starfield did have room to grow, and it did
You mean
grow.
Skyrim?
Yeah, Skyrim. I don't know where I'm at.
It's okay.
But like, I just don't think it's going to be. It's not as much as Starfield. Starfield has whole galaxies that they can build.
So I think number one, Starfield has a lot more buzz going into it, which is going to help it.
Absolutely.
I think, believe it or not, like console exclusivity matters. Like it's the same reason why more people talk about Final Fantasy 16 than they did about 15, where it's like it was PlayStation exclusive, so it's going to get that buzz more on that PlayStation side.
But also, it's one of those things where you hear like, oh, it's Skyrim walked so that Starfield could.
That too, and then other things like it's Xbox's arrival in the current gen about their first party support.
Yeah.
We had Phil Spencer at Gamescom last week doing interviews. Like he said before this year, like the 4 games a year from first party support was an aspiration. Now it's an expectation.
Yeah.
Phil's like, we see our pipeline, we know what we have coming. Redfall was supposed to kick it off, but now Starfield is the one that kicks it off. So you have a lot of Xbox fans, Xbox gamers looking at this as a spark of hope, the next step for them as a brand. Like there's just a lot of excitement around it. It's new, it's fresh, it's exciting. Skyrim, as much as we love Skyrim, it was the 5th Elder Scrolls game. Like Starfield's like, this is the first Bethesda IP in 25 years. And it's like, yeah, like it's gonna drive up a lot of buzz. And like honestly, like playing this game, originally, like before this game came out, I was like, I don't know how they're gonna make another Starfield. Like when they're like, you know what I mean? When they're selling this game to me, I'm like, what do you do in the sequel? Now I can see a few things that they would do, and now I think there's definitely a future for this as a franchise, which is very exciting.
But talking about Starfield 2 is like
no, I'm not doing it like that. But I'm just saying
about taking your grandkids to school because like
I like 20 years.
Adding another rotation in the Bethesda. Like,
I like what TJ says here. It might not be getting the same like ratings by the players and stuff like that, but it's literally selling Xboxes, and that's a fact. Like
this is a system seller, I think.
Oh, this is absolutely a system seller.
Or this is a platform seller, you know.
This is absolutely like here's the thing. Like if you don't want to get a Series X, I begrudgingly understand. I love the Series X personally, and from a hardware perspective, I'm a big believer in that box. I have it. It sits next to my PS5. It gets more usage than my PS5 does. I really love the Xbox Series X. I love the UI. I love the console. I love the controller.
I agree with that.
Period. It's the best box in terms of hardware, factually and also in my opinion.
But what's important is games, and I think
exactly. This is that first look. If you're asking me, does Starfield do right by the Xbox community? Does it do right by the gamers? Is it an excellent game? It is. If you put a gun to my head and said put a review score on it right now, it would be a high 8, maybe low 9. I'm leaning 9.5 after like the recent storyline thing that happened, where it's like now I see more possibilities opening up, and I'm like, this could be really, really special if they do it right, which I think they will. So it's a very high score for me. Like it is. Is it a 10? No, it's not a 10. But
anything between the 8 and 10 or 8 and 9.5 sphere seems fair.
I'm enjoying myself just as much as I was enjoying So I've given 2 games a 10.
That's what matters.
Here on the podcast. I've given 2 games a 10. Both of them were this year because the podcast started late. But Octopath Traveler 2 I gave a 10.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom I give a 10. Is this a 10 out of 10 game? No. When I played Octopath 2, that's a perfect. Like when I played Tears of the Kingdom, that's a perfect game. I mean, like even those games, there are little things I would do differently.
Actually,
but for what
the way you talked about Octopath, I think so far it's still early. I guess we're in like September, but I think that's your game of the year.
Talk about it in December. I've thought about it actually a few times.
Yeah, it just seems like the vibe you gave off. Where like,
we'll talk about it. I don't know. We'll see. There's still more games coming out too.
Tune in 3 months. We'll have our
yeah. December's gonna be a lot of fun this year. For content. So I think that like at the end of the day, like I think Starfield's an excellent game. I'm gonna try to keep playing through it. Well, not try. I'm going to keep playing through it. I'm having a blast playing it. I like the writing. I like the gameplay. I like the story. I like everything about the. There's a few little things that do irk me. Like I said, the big one being the lack of tutorials. But you know what? 40 hours from now, I'm not gonna give a shit about the tutorials.
It's 40 hours from now, you'll still be learning about the game. I think.
In 40 hours, that's when the tutorial begins. That's why I haven't seen any yet because I haven't gotten that far.
You can jump. What?
Y button is jumping. Oh, yeah.
Oh, so
Forgot.
John says something that's kind of he got a crappy GameStop bundle, and I think you had a GameStop experience, but you're.
Oh my god. So Starfield or GameStop. This is about GameStop.
Before you start though, I will say I will agree with you, TJ. It doesn't look as good as Cyberpunk, but Cyberpunk didn't look that good when it came out. You know what I mean? It's good now and it looks great now. I don't know.
Okay, so actually, let me finish up with Starfield real quick, and then because then we're gonna end the show after the GameStop story.
Okay.
So Starfield, if you're looking for my final thoughts in terms of whether you should buy it, Game Pass, whatever. If you can get Game Pass, you should absolutely get Game Pass. Right now, Game Pass is on sale at Amazon and Target. You can get 3 months for like $30. Do it. If you can buy Starfield, you should do it. Is it worth buying a console for? Honestly, I think it is. It's a great game. It's an excellent game. And the promise moving forward from Xbox, very exciting. So this is definitely a great addition to Xbox's catalog, and I'm excited to see where it goes from. Devroro, you haven't played Starfield yet. You're still trying to. Anyways, so let's finish the show with GameStop and how much I just hate GameStop, and I'm not going back to the GameStop that I frequent because it's by my. So I've been using GameStop a few times this year just to kind of help save money because I have a GameStop credit card from back in the day. So I'm like, buying a few games from GameStop to save some of my actual money. And so I've had bad experiences now 3 times at GameStop for the last 3 games I bought. I think I told the other stories on the podcast with Zelda and then with AEW Fight Forever and the pre-order bonus thing. So
is this all at the same
GameStop. So I had Starfield pre-ordered, the premium content edition, the $35. It came with a steelbook case and all that. I've already said what it came with, but it's a physical thing. So I had it pre-ordered. I was off the day before the game came out, so I was off that Thursday, and so I wanted to go to GameStop and see if they were going to do a midnight release for the early access. So I tried calling, no one answered. Called like 3 times. And I'm like, you know what? It's about lunchtime. It's like 12:30. I'm gonna go grab some lunch. GameStop's like right next to where I went and got Taco Bell. And I'm like, it's right there. I'll stop by, walk in, see if I can pick it up tonight at midnight. If not, I don't mind picking it up. I get there. The store is like the gates are closed, and like there's someone in like the back room, but like they're not coming out. Okay. So, like looking in there, I'm like, I guess they're not open. Tried calling a few more times to like for sure know if they're open or not.
Yeah.
Didn't answer.
Online it said they were supposed to be open.
Online they were open. It was business hours and like whatever, things happen. I don't care. Not a big deal. So I'm like, all right, I guess I won't.
What you said?
This is like 12:30.
12:30.
That GameStop on Monday through Thursday opens at 12.
Okay.
Very late. I don't like that. Well, I'm not going back to that. So it doesn't. Anyway, so I went about my day. I had to go run like another errand that evening. And the wife and I, then we went out to dinner. So we were just kind of out. And I was like, let me try calling them one more time. It's like 7 o'clock at this point. I call, someone finally. and the guy had no idea what I was talking about at all. It's like I was like, "Hi, I was wondering if there was gonna be a midnight release for Starfield's early access tonight." Guy was basically he didn't say I have no idea what you're talking about any of this stuff, but he's like, I have not been told of any indication about any video games launching." And I'm like, okay, weird, but whatever. Again, not a big deal. I've been going to GameStop for years. So then the next day I go in to pick up my copy. Now at this point, it's Friday. Like that is the day it went live. The reason I wasn't sure about the midnight release is because it went live Thursday night at 8 o'clock.
I get that, yeah.
So like I can understand that being a toss up.
Yeah.
Not upset about it.
Especially with the early access.
Exactly.
Release.
But so Friday, it's available.
Yeah.
It's out. GameStop's app and the website said September 1st, Friday. So I pull up, the doors are closed, like with the gates up. And I'm like, I had to go to work right after I picked it up. So I was like, oh. And so I'm sitting there and I'm calling the store, no answer, 3 times. And I'm like, the whole point of this is to get it early so I can play it. Like if I don't get it now, I'm not getting it until tomorrow. And then that's one of the 5 days. You know what I mean? Like the big selling point, like obviously I want the steel bookcase, but it's the early access. And so I'm sitting there and I look to my right and there's this person in the car next to me. They look at each other.
They definitely worked there, didn't they?
Yeah. They got out of the car after looking at me, walked over to the door, and an employee that was already in the store let them in, and then the gates open. Now here's the thing. I know for a fact that games regular games over the years. I know that they have it where there's one employee in the store. Like there's not like an issue with one employee
going to say that.
being in the store. That's how GameStop's run nowadays.
I was just saying, when I worked at a pharmacy, I was not allowed, even after opening, unless my crew was. So I was
but GameStop's not like that. Okay. I know for a fact. I've known people that worked at GameStop before. I've literally gone and hang out with the person that worked at GameStop because he's like, hey, I'm about to be alone for like, and I'm allowed to be, but do you just come hang out? And I was like, sure. But anyways, so they open up, and I'm like, still, you know what? It's fine. I'm gonna get my game. It's all that matters. Hi, I'm here to pick up my pre-order Starfield. The early expansion came out today. And they're like, we don't know anything about a launch coming out. And I'm like, this is the second time this happened, because it happened with AEW Fight Forever as well. And I'm like, no, it came out today, September 1st. So I pull it up on the app. I also have the receipt from the pre-order, because at this point I don't trust this GameStop. So I'm prepared to fight at this point.
Literally.
I brought receipts, literally. And so she's like, they're looking through the computers, clicking away. Like the receipt has the SKU on it.
Yeah.
Like you look, I know how this stuff works, because again, I've known people that worked at GameStop, and I'm not that guy. I'm not like a Karen or anything like that at all. You know that I'm not.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, at this point, I'm getting really third visit to GameStop in a row where it's just like they have no idea what's going on. And so finally they're like, all right, well, we might have to go look through our shipments. It might be about like 35 minutes. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to stand here for 30 minutes, because I'm already dressed and ready to go to work. Like, I don't have time to like go home. So like, I have time to be 30 more minutes, but I don't have time to go home or whatever. So I'm just like, all right.
Did you like leave and come back?
I could, like, not really. But so finally the one employee's like, oh wait, can't we look up what's in the shipment boxes on our computers? And they're like, I don't know. Can you? And then so they looked up, it's like, oh yeah, hold on. And so like they go and they grab a box, and like they come out, and number one, also like me as like collector, I was also mad at them, because so they open up this box with a bunch of collectibles and game cases and all this stuff, and this employee just like dumps it out on the counter to get to my disc or my case. And then like, so as she's going through the pile, she's chucking them back into the box. We're talking game cases, pop figures, collectibles. Some of the collectibles like don't have boxes, they're just what they are. And I'm like, this girl is. And I know how game cases can break very easily, and I'm just like sitting back there like, what is going on? And so like then they couldn't find my pre-order, had the receipt, and it was like this whole, like, oh God, it just kept going and going. And then like finally I get it and I leave. I was in there for probably 15-20 minutes, and I was just like, they constantly don't know what I am getting. They don't know releases. They don't know how to get pre-orders. Like, just like, I'm never going to this GameStop ever again. And again, it's the culmination of like the third game that I've had bad issues with. Like they almost screwed me out of my Zelda Special Edition because they didn't know how to do the midnight releases. They didn't give me my pre-order bonus for AEW, and then they made me play phone tag with customer service. They didn't even know AEW Fight Forever came out the day it came out. I'm just like, you guys suck.
But that's why the technology of Amazon is probably going to put them out of business.
I'm
People are
gonna
going to lose their jobs because
I'm gonna go to a different GameStop. I told Jackie, and she got mad at me. I was like, I'm just gonna start driving up to Neshaminy for GameStop because I've always liked the Neshaminy Mall GameStop. They've always been pretty good. And she's like, you are not driving 30 minutes to go to GameStop. And I was like, watch. You don't think I will? Watch me.
if you're, I know you had issues with Amazon Prime. Not, I mean, this is a pre-release kind of thing, so that's different. You probably had to go get it, but like, if you could get
the problem is with Amazon,
you don't get it on day one.
Amazon's been really bad in the last like
faithful. I'd be like
Amazon. Well, that's the thing. I was exclusive to Amazon for a while because they were the best at it. They were getting it to me on launch day. They were giving me 20% off all my games. It was
recently.
It was like what do you like? Why wouldn't you if you're buying physical games? But they don't do that anymore. So unfortunately, it worked.
I mean, it can for you when you don't play the. I mean, Starfield's different, but like
I've been doing better this year. You'll see when we do like the end of year recap. Like I've played significantly less games this year because I focused on games. So that's my story with GameStop. That one's terrible. They're not all bad, but that one's definitely a bad GameStop. All right.
Moral of the story?
John says, sounds like theft. That's the moral of the story. Moral story is physical games are still good. You just got to get them from the right people.
It did sound like they were trying to steal your pre-order for a minute until they finally gave it to you.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we can't find things. Like, oh, he's not going away.
Yeah.
Because again, I came prepared because like they were also trying to convince me that it was a digital only thing, and I was like, nope, promise you it's not.
You don't know the not.
You should have popped out. I was like, you don't know this guy. Like he would not be pre-ordering a digital game
not
if
at all.
he had a physical copy. So yeah, they were. It was definitely crazy. John saying you guys have a great night. First time listening to this podcast. Listen to your AEW review a few times. Yeah, John, liked having you around. You should definitely check us out again. We're about to wrap up here, but have a good night. So yeah, that's my GameStop story. I'm gonna go keep playing more Starfield. Devroro, you should probably finish Zelda, so that way you could play Starfield as well.
Yeah.
Or just play Starfield.
That's true.
Yeah. Well,
I will say, I played maybe like 2 hours of Baldur's Gate 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so much.
I believe it.
I definitely want to like. I think you would like it too.
I probably would, but there's just so much coming out.
Eventually, when it comes to Xbox, definitely give it a look. Really good.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, this has been episode 38 of the Game Room Podcast. Thank you to everyone hanging out with us here tonight. Ty, John Cream, the Doge. We really appreciate all you guys hanging out. Please hit that like button and subscribe on the way out. Subscribe to become a member if you can. We really appreciate it. You get the really cool video game arcade cabinet. You also get the AEW emojis exclusive to members. As you saw in the chat today, the Doge hit 2 months. Really appreciate his support. And he got his arcade cabinet updated to the really cool green one.
Shout out, Doge.
Shout out to the Doge. If you like wrestling, we will be back Wednesday night for our AEW Dynamite review. We also do AEW Collision reviews as well. I'm going to keep playing Starfield. I'll have more to talk about next week. Hopefully we talk about the Nintendo Direct as well. Follow us on social medias. Join the Discord. Other than that, that's all I got for us. Have a good night.